What is going on, everyone? Good morning. This is Warriors This Week. My name is Evan Giddings. That is my man, Dan Devone. Steven Risotto, a.k.a. Pasta Behind the Glass, holding it down. We are talking Dubs for the next 3 hours here on 95.7 The Game. And Dan, well, a week ago, I think you and I were feeling great. In fact, I dragged your ass. Well, I shouldn't say I dragged your ass. You dragged your ass out to the Warriors to see them take a commanding lead in this series. And then a week later, 7 days later, all of a sudden, we got Game 7.
Here we are. I like Game 7s, though.
I do.
Right? It's nothing like it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Maybe not when your team is in it.
Well, think about it from Houston's perspective. They want nothing more than obviously to move on, obviously to win a Game 7. But the fact that it's the Warriors, there is an asterisk next to this for the folks out there in Houston. Hey, listen, man, let's not throw dirt on the Warriors just yet. I know you want to eulogize them, but
whoa!
It's a little premature.
No. I think I told Pasta this. I do feel good about Game 7. Maybe not as good as I felt about Game 6. And I think that's where obviously we have to start off of last night. That was a prime opportunity for the Warriors, and it felt like the way that they came out so flat in Game 5. I won't go as far as to say they punted that game, but Houston stripped them of any opportunity to really go out and get it after the second quarter. They pulled the plug in the third, and they put all their eggs in the basket of Game 6. Wise strategy, unwise strategy, we can unpack all of it here on Warriors This Week. But the fact remains, they blew their chance last night. They blew their chance to get a potential few days of rest, which they were still going to be at a disadvantage going into the next series. And now they basically put themselves in another single game elimination scenario, just like they did in 2023 against the Sacramento Kings. They won that Game 7, but this is a very different Rockets team, Dan.
It's going to be very, very challenging. They're going to be underdogs, and rightfully so. Can they win the game? Sure. Anytime you got Steph Curry on your team, you got a puncher's chance. And Jimmy Butler can drag you to a victory as well. Is it going to be easy? No. Is Houston the favorite? As I mentioned, yes. And there's a lot of things that are now working against the Golden State Warriors, and I want to get into all of them. But first and foremost, and primarily, it's the fact that the oldest team in the NBA, and I've harped on this all year long, that when you're old, and I always, I challenge anybody to show me a team that's been this old that made a serious run in the postseason and or got to the NBA Finals. I know people will throw San Antonio at me, but they had Kawhi Leonard, who was the NBA Finals MVP that year. The Warriors don't, well, they do, but it's Jonathan Kuminga, and he don't play. So there has never been a team this old that has made a run deep into the postseason. And the reason why, it's because of this. They need their rest. And as soon as this series shifted to 1 day off in between games, you could clearly see it took its toll, and it had an effect on the legs of one Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler.
As for last night, you're right. I thought that the stamina, specifically over the old players, manifested itself at different points in the game. For Steph and for Jimmy, it was in the fourth quarter. They had nothing left. I thought they were sincere. They're the only reason they were in the game for the first three quarters. Draymond, I thought, looked tired. He looked like a player that's been trying to guard 2 7-footers that are 50 pounds bigger than him for 6 games. That's what he looked like. And everyone else around them, Dan, just couldn't make a shot. The combination of Post, Pajemski, GP2, Hield, they combined to go 6 for 19 from three-point range. Meanwhile, the Houston Rockets shot 40%. Tari Eason off the bench hit 2. Jabari Smith Jr. hit 2. Fred VanVleet is doing a Steph Curry impression. This guy cannot miss. And the Rockets, when they make threes, are very difficult to beat in general, but especially when you don't have anybody that can match up with the size that they have to offer. And I'll say this about Steven Adams. Because I was looking at some numbers today. He is his efficiency as far as centers in the playoffs, it's him and Chet Holmgren.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, he has been one of the most impactful players in this postseason. He's made the Warriors look like little boys.
Yeah, he has the highest plus differential in the postseason in this series. He is amazing, man. I don't know why this guy keeps getting passed from team to team. Not that he's well-traveled, but this guy is such a difference maker. It's hard to cheer against Steven Adams. He's one of the most... He seems like the sort of guy that you would appreciate.
He dropped an F-bomb at the podium yesterday.
Yeah, well, I love that.
He saw an Australian.
But he's well-read. He's articulate. He's the last guy in the world to complain, despite the fact that people are hanging all over this guy. Steven Adams is, they say, pound for pound, the strongest guy in the NBA, and he could probably take out anybody. He walks away from every confrontation. I'm just a Steven Adams fan. I don't like Houston necessarily. I think that Van Vliet is one of the ugliest players I've seen. I'm not talking about him physically, but in terms of his shot and his makeup, it's like, I hate his game, but the Warriors have no answer for that guy. I think there's three things, but I want to start with the first one, which I really think is it's not coincidental that when Steph Curry had nearly 5 days off for Game 1 against Houston, didn't matter whether it was Amen Thompson or Dylan Brooks or Şengün. He was going to get to his spot. He was going to get to the hoop. He was going to shimmy. He was going to deal on you. That's Steph Curry when he has rest. The Warriors can win without Steph Curry. Without rest, this is what it is that you get. And I just think that this, as an older team, rest for your older players, namely one Steph Curry, is the difference between being good and or bad.
No, I agree. And I think, the final line of his game will mar some of the early struggles we saw. And in particular, I think throughout this series, the thumb injury has affected him.
Really? I don't go there.
Well, I think it has as far as his handle. Like, he has always been loose with the ball, but he is making some careless plays in traffic.
I think that's an excuse. He's always been, you know how I feel. And you always tell me, Dan, that's just how they play. So let's not make excuses for him now, because if I'm not mistaken, that thumb has been pretty damaged for about 2 months now, and he's been pretty good in the latter part of the season. Now suddenly,
he's been great shooting the ball. Well, but taking care of it is another thing.
But he's never been good taking care of the ball in high-pressure situations. It's his decision to try and break a double team with the dribble. I've never seen him just casually one-on-one with a guy, suddenly the ball gets away from him, like, oh, the thumb's probably bothering him. When he loses the handle, he's trying to go curly kneel with 3 guys around him. That's not a high-percentage play either way. So I think it's a bit of an excuse, because I think over the last month and a half of the season, that thumb has been bandaged and he's been rock solid.
Well, and he saved his game really with 11 straight points in the second quarter yesterday. Like, he can still get hot with the best of them, but you can tell, especially in the fourth quarter, like, he was trying to force shots that just weren't there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's because he's trying to get himself going. He's trying to put the team on his back, as he did in Game 1, specifically Game 3. But it's also because no one else is hitting anything. I mean, the Rockets went to a zone last night. I thought they found it a little bit in Game 5, but it didn't really matter because that game was largely over. They went back to it in Game 6, which really allows Adams to stay on the floor. And the biggest thing I find an issue for the Warriors right now, it is their age and it is the war of attrition that they clearly seem to be losing. But it's the fact that they can't find a way to make a true center irrelevant in a series. That has never happened to the Golden State Warriors, whether it was their title years, even a couple of years ago. Yeah, they struggled with size in the Lakers series. Against Sacramento, they went at Sabonis. If there's a center that has limitations on another team, they generally find a way to exploit them. And they have not figured out a way to do that with Steven Adams, to the point where you're talking about he's been the best player in terms of plus-minus in this series.
And they're hiding him. And I think Ime Udoka is coaching his arse off, man. That 2-1-2 zone is beautiful, because you just stick Adams in the middle of that thing. There were a couple of times he got out on an island on Steph, and Steph abused him. But for the most part, they're protecting him. And if you come into the paint, you've got to go through Steven Adams. And to this point, not only the Warriors, but anybody in the NBA has a low percentage of a success rate in terms of challenging that dude. The one spot of the floor that is available to the Warriors, because the Warriors have turned into Daryl Morey's Houston Rockets, it's the 3-ball, live and die, and feast and famine with that thing. They are not getting to the rim whatsoever. Nobody, aside from Steph. Even Jimmy Butler had little luck getting to the rim. But you know what's open? it's the mid-range, which has disappeared, not only from the Warriors, but in basketball in general. You cannot, with their length, whether it's Jabari Smith, the Tari Eason, Armand Thompson, on the outside, they're going to run you off the line. You cannot shoot threes uninhibited against this team. You can get past that first wave, but if you go any further than that, you're dealing with Steven Adams. So in that 16 to 18-foot range, it's there. You can pull up and you can get some space on this basketball team. But guess what, Ev? Nobody does that anymore. Nobody knows how to shoot the mid-range. It's not in their bag. And that's a shame. And I think it has a lot to do with what it is that the Warriors are struggling with.
Well, that's also why I don't think it's a coincidence that the player who was the most effective for them yesterday offensively was Jimmy Butler. He's the person who has the biggest mid-range bag on this team. And to bring it back to Steph, I also think that is a sign of him being tired. He takes a lot of three-pointers when he does not have everything in the tank. Like, I actually think that the reason why he was able to go for 30 in game one, for 36 in game three, it's because he got to the paint. He got to the rim. And look, I'll credit Houston. It's a lot more difficult to do that when you got Steven Adams roaming around there. It is very difficult to do when you have someone, a 7-foot Aussie, basically playing safety back there.
I think he's a New Zealander.
New Zealander. Down under, in. But the point is, even when he tossed Jimmy again last night, he's blocked Jimmy Butler at the rim like twice in this series. He had 3 more blocks. He has 8 for this series. They need to figure out a way to get him off the court. And I'm curious what people think at 888-957-9570, what that game left you feeling, what the last 2 games specifically have left you feeling after the Warriors have gone up 3-1. Because in one breath, Dan, I can look at this team and say, yes, there are clearly some flaws. They play very small. They're undersized. They're very old. It looks like they're wearing down. That's also how they got a 3-1 lead. And the question is, if you're Steve Kerr at this point, do you throw it all out and try to go to something new? Or do you trust your guys who have been in these war-tested situations before to go out and win him for you in Game 7? The same horses that you rode in are the one you ride out on.
Yeah, those are 2 really bad choices. If you're going to Jonathan Kuminga and Trace Jackson-Davis at this point, which I think would be a smart move. I mean, how much can you expect out of these guys after not playing for this long? And then riding the GP2s and the Buddy Hields of the world, that's a scary proposition as well. Getting back to Steph Curry for a moment, I think that's a really, really smart point on your end, because it's easy to watch Steph Curry, and LeBron James used to talk about this. Hey, you know what? They're running you off the line, right? They're overplaying you. Get to the rim. Go to the rim. You know how much energy it takes, especially at age 37, to cross a guy over, get into the paint, bang, and do that on successive plays, or do that the majority of the game? That takes so much out of you. And again, it just gets back to what it is that I strongly believe is a big difference maker in this series. That as soon as it switched from one day off in between games, and that one day you're traveling 4 hours to the other side of the country to go to Texas and play in Houston, Steph Curry was no longer Steph Curry. And I really think that that's where we're at. Doesn't mean he can reach down and be special, because all the great ones can and bail you out into Game 7, but I really think it sort of begins and ends there.
Well, the fact that you just look at the amount of minutes that he's logged in this series. Like, he played 42 last night, which obviously he's got to be feeling it this morning. He played, 39, 40, 37 and a half, 40. Like, Steph is playing more minutes, it feels like, in this series than the last full playoff series that he had to compete in. And obviously, look, you're going to play bigger minutes in the playoffs. The rotations are going to get shorter. They're going to get tighter. But where we talked about this season having to manage Steph, having to keep him around 32, 33 minutes, I realize come playoff time, you throw it all out the door. But you got to have something left. And if the Warriors, Dan, by chance, happen to get past Houston, I still think they can win Game 7. I do not abide by the whole this series is over. The Warriors are going to Houston's going to become the 14th team ever to come from down 3-1. They could do it, but I don't think this series is all for naught. I don't think it's over.
Well, the only thing, let's get to some of these calls. I really want to hear from the people. The only thing that you can bank on as a Warrior fan or Dub Nation is that a Game 7, and if it's close, late in the game or in the second half or in big possessions late in the third or fourth quarter, that Houston becomes that team they were in Game 1, where their youth and their inexperience is going to once again show, and the Warriors can take advantage of that they're afraid to take the big shots or they don't have the go-to guy. I think personally that they're past that, but that's one thing that you can bank on, and the other being that Steph goes nuts and Jimmy Butler goes nuts.
Well, real quick, but that's been their advantage this entire series. Like when the Warriors have won, they won 95-85. They won 104-93, 109-106. All of those are tight games. Like they've been out. The point differential is in favor of Houston this series. When the games have been close, the Warriors have won. The Rockets, meanwhile, and last night was not a blowout, but obviously they were up 17 in the fourth quarter. They got largely handled going into that period. The Warriors have to win close games. Like, that's their path to victory because that's their lone advantage, it feels like, in this series. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings, Dan Devone with you here on Warriors Wrap-Up. We're taking your texts. We're taking your calls. Shout out YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Let's start with our guy, Austin in San Jose. Austin, what's up, man? Good morning. How you doing?
Hey, guys. Happy Saturday to my guys. Listen, I think I said a week or so ago, I'm one of those crazy people, man. I love Game 7s. What's better than a Game 7? Yeah, would we have wished they had won the game last night? Of course. But, hey, man, let's see the tension. I did notice going to tension. I saw if you watch the body language of the Warriors last night, man, you could see the concern even early, man, in the first quarter with Draymond's face and Steph's face. You could see things weren't going as planned. I noticed that Draymond was in Buddy's face a couple times over some misassignments on defense, it appeared. Late in the game, even Steph, after making up 3, was basically yelling at his teammates because they weren't executing the offense. And, man, you have to give credit to Coach Udoka. I know that I follow the chat line during the week, and it's amazing how many people are dismissing how good a coach this guy is. I mean, he is absolutely coaching his behind now. I think you said, Dan. Let's give credit to him. The adjustments he made in game, from game to game, are amazing. Listen, Dylan Brooks was in foul trouble last night. Wasn't even a factor, and he's one of their big time players. And yet he basically sat him out the second half, and they still took care of business. Right? Steve Kerr tried to play the chess game with Udoka about the hack of hacking the center, right? Who I love, by the Adams.
Yeah.
And it didn't work, right? So he was trying to force Udoka to take him off the court. Why? Because the Warriors were getting destroyed in the paint. So, listen, the Warriors have got a problem. They've allowed this Game 7. I'm going to say 65-35, 35% chance the Warriors win that game. I think all the adjustment that they've made. I mean, the guy Van Fleet, he found his shot, and so that's a problem. They have no answer, as Dan said, for him. So I think the other thing, guys, you notice the athleticism, and I kind of dwell too much on this, and people don't like me for saying it, but I go to NBA games to watch talent, okay? And when you see the talent level discrepancy that the young guys have on Houston's team, in my opinion, you remember last night when our friend Podge tried to take a casual jumper shot from the corner, and you remember Jalen Green came out of nowhere and swatted into the stands. There's an example of athleticism, and it looked effortless. How about Thompson falling on the floor, cracking his head? If that were the Warriors, if that were Jimmy Butler or Kerr, they would probably have to carry him off the court on a stretcher. The dude pops right back up. So that's the difference between having 20-year-old talented guys and older guys being your best players, as Dan has said. So, yeah, I think the Warriors are in a lot of trouble. Could they do it, Dan? Dan, I think Evan seems like he's still discounting the Rockets and how good they are. I hear the kind of, they could still lose. And nah, dude. Evan, please accept the fact that the Rockets are a good team, man. They were number 2 for a reason, guys.
Whoa. Hold on, Austin. I know you might not have been tuned in last night, but you have no choice but to give the Rockets their props. They have earned their way back into this series. I hope I wasn't coming off as disrespectful.
Yeah, but you kind of come off with but I think the Warriors can still do this, and they can still. You're even talking about the next series. Let's get by this series. I'm not even sure that the Warriors, even if they win tomorrow, can continue on in the series. They got to play Minnesota next. So let's worry about that when we get there. I'm going to keep enjoying listening to you guys. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Wow. I feel sunned.
Yeah, I agree. Well, not the part of going after you, but it's hard to disagree with Austin because I'm with him. I think, I hate saying this because I'm with you. They got a puncher's chance of winning Game 7. But you know what? If we can break this down and we could talk about Steph Curry. We could talk about Steve Kerr and some of the rotation matchups. We could talk about the ineptitude of the bench and Podziemski. The longer this series goes on, I think Houston's just a better team. Like, I just see, like, you're running up, you're trying every angle, and Tari Eason, Jabari Smith, 6'10", Amen Thompson, Şengün, even Jalen Green when he's feeling it. I don't know that the Warriors can counter that, quite frankly, at the end of the day. I mean, we could break this down, and we will, but I just think, you know what happened? And do we want to get to another call? Because I do have a detailed sort of reasoning as to what has happened in this series as it relates to the Houston Rockets, but I don't want to take up, I'd rather take some calls before I get into this quote-unquote dissertation.
All right, then let's go to AJ in Los Angeles. AJ, what's going on, man?
Cheers to you, gentlemen. Good Saturday morning. It's a great morning for me. It's been hard to watch the Warriors for quite some time, to be honest, man, because, it's gotten so political with this team. This organization is kind of doing some weird things, the smear campaigns and all that stuff. We know what's really going on. I call it the curse of JK. We know what it is. I'm actually sitting on the sideline next to JK laughing at this madness. I think the good thing what this kid could bring to a series like this is the fact that he is different. He does not fit into what this crappy system is doing. He's someone who can combat the athleticism, the speed, the quickness, the point of attack that these other guys are doing. In fact, he's the only guy on this team that have shown that he could beat this team by himself, this season. I'm not referring to the Rockets of the past. I'm talking about this season, a guy who pulled his bootstraps and beat this team by himself, not because it was the system, but because what he can bring to the table. So what's happening to the Warriors right now is what should be happening to them. They allowed this madness by Steve Kerr to go on far too long. We know what's going on. And the sad part is when they get blown out, I guess, Sunday, when they get blown out, we're going to get this crazy article from Slater or one of these other guys. We're going to have this article about how Kerr lost the locker room and what really happened with JK and what really happened with Moses Moody and TJD instead of broadcasting what we should have known for a long time now. The locker room is lost. The system is failing. And that's that. You're not fully using the roster that you have. You're using these tiny, smug guys with no athleticism, hardly any skills, and you're putting all this weight on two guys. That's not how you win the series. Yeah, it worked when you had, Steph, Iggy, and a bunch of other 6'7" wings who could guard and, protect Steph Curry, who was a solid ball handler, but, let's be honest, he's kind of loose with the rock. So when he gets a little shady with the ball, you can rely on a guy like S-Dot. You can rely on Iggy to control the ball and get things back in the flow. But you don't have any guys like that who could take over and control the offense, but also be athletic wings and guard the point of attack. You have one, but because of the politics, because of the shady system, you can't use them. So I'll hang up and listen, man, but that's how I feel about it.
Thanks, AJ. Yeah, look, I mean, there's absolutely room to talk about Kuminga today. I don't know if you want to do it now, Dan.
JK, come on back to the forefront, buddy. Let's dust him off and talk JK for the next 2 hours. I think just on all I would say before we get to the break, I don't know about the smear campaign. I still think Steve Kerr is a good coach. He's getting out-coached in this series. I'm a big Steve Kerr fan. But if they lose Game 7, he will forever come under fire, at least from people like me, and there will forever be the criticism as to why he didn't play his third leading scorer, and a guy that averaged 21 points and 7 rebounds against this very iteration of the Houston Rockets. He will always have to answer that, and that will always be the criticism. I don't care what it is that JK has done or not done in this series. Steve Kerr will have to answer that question, and will stay with him throughout his entire career.
Anytime you lose a series, everyone's going to be under fire. Like, the Warriors have lost the last 2 games, Dan. I think you hit the nail on the head at the beginning of this. It's because they're old and the Rockets are young. They have just been worn down. And it was so obvious in the fourth quarter. Jimmy Butler took 4 threes in the fourth quarter alone. He doesn't shoot threes. Steph Curry was 1 of 7 in the fourth quarter. Really, outside of that 11-point flurry at the end of the second quarter, he was ineffective offensively.
Because they're settling.
And no one else is able to make a shot. And to me, if there is, and we could talk about Kerr on the other side, I know, because we got to hit a break here in a minute. To me, it is more large picture stuff. It isn't necessarily about this series, but the lack of ability to get players, specifically or younger players, up to the point where they can contribute in a series like this. The Houston Rockets' young players have gotten better over the course of this series. They've gained confidence. They've played more within themselves. And they've quickly got up to the point where it doesn't look like the lack of experience has been much of a factor, especially in Game 6. That was Jalen Green, Alperen Şengün's first road elimination game. And I thought both of them played pretty well. Green wasn't great. Şengün, I thought, was solid. Van Vliet, they were led by their veteran, and Steven Adams, who's been in those situations before, obviously was awesome. But their young players weren't afraid of that moment. I thought the Warriors' young players, meanwhile, Podziemski, Moody, Post, they didn't have it. And that's a problem. The fact that they have not gotten to the point where they can yet contribute in a closeout game in the first round, mind you. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings, Dan Devone. We got Big Smooth on the line. I'll get to your call on the other side, Big Smooth. Sorry about that, but hang on through the break. We'll get to you along with the rest of your calls on the other side here on Warriors This Week on 95.7 The Game. Not much of a break at all. Evan Giddings, Dan Devone with you, trying to get to the bottom of the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets series. It's going to Game 7 tomorrow, 5:30 tip, local time, 7:30 Central. And, the Warriors have asked for this, Dan.
I love it.
They put themselves in this position.
I don't love the fact that the Warriors are going to a Game 7. I like Game 7s, and I love that the fan base is just so involved. And hearing from the passion from good calls, I think. I get it. There's a bit of an overreaction going from a win to a loss, but it's beautiful. I love the energy and the fever right now. And granted, it looks sort of dire right now, but you still got another basketball game, and you still have Stephen Curry on your team, and you got one Jimmy Butler, and so you're always going to have a chance.
Well, look, things are tense. Actually, I thought that the building last night was really tense, and a big reason for that is Houston hit every shot they needed to hit. Like every time that the Warriors looked like they were going to go on a 7-0 run or a 9-0 run, or they're going to get a stop, there was like a chaos play, a loose ball. Houston gets to it. They'll kick it out. Fred VanVleet sticks a three. Jabari Smith in the corner, wide open. Bang. Like they just hit every single shot. The silencers successively were knocked down by Houston in a fashion that you do have to give them credit because they made every big shot.
Yeah, so listen, I want to get to the calls because I really enjoy hearing from the people, but I just do want to say this, and I think you know what it is that I'm going to talk about because I think you've been on board as well. I mentioned how this year the Golden State Warriors have a chance. It's sort of like their last dance. Obviously, Dunleavy is not Jerry Krause, and they're not going to break up the team at the end of this year, but I felt as though that OKC could be got because they're still young and don't have their battle scars and experience. I felt Houston could be got because they're still young enough. I think when that light goes on and they wake up and they get that experience, it's going to be their conference for the foreseeable future between those two teams. The Warriors had an opportunity, Ev, to already advance and sweep the Houston Rockets. If it was not for the injury to Jimmy Butler, I strongly believe that the Warriors sweep Houston and move on. I know a lot of people feel as though Houston would have won that game even with Jimmy Butler, but if you recall in the second half, they were still connected without Jimmy Butler to Houston had like a 7 or a 9 point lead. Jimmy Butler plays, the Warriors win, and then the Warriors sweep, and they move on. They get the hell out of town before those boys wake up. Guess what happened? The series got elongated. And these youngsters at the beginning of the series that were in awe of the Warriors and Steph Curry, growing up and watching these guys in high school, suddenly as you get towards games 6 and 7, they're not the same team. We didn't want them to wake up. The worst case scenario is like, let's just get out of here and move on before these guys realize how good they are and that they can play with us and that they have the experience. And that's exactly what's taking place. When you look at this team in the beginning of the series, it's not the same team that's playing in Game 7. Now, the Warriors can win that game, but in terms of Houston, and it could happen late in the game in big possessions, but in terms of them, once again, being timid, like you saw in Game 1, I think that's been eradicated. You had the chance to move on and get the hell out of there before that team awoke, and now I think they're awake, they're hungry, and the Warriors do not scare them. That's why I think you saw part of the body language that's been referred to of the Golden State Warriors. They recognize that these boys, they're young, but the inexperienced part is no longer part of the equation. They're young, they're good, and now they're confident. And that's a scary, scary situation for the Warriors going forward.
Well, I always think they were young and they were good, but that confidence, you're right, has been built over games. I don't think it was ever going to...
You mentioned that off the top.
I don't think it was ever going to be a sweep, but I do agree to this extent. If the Warriors were going to do anything at all in the postseason, they were going to have to finish series early because they look old and they look tired. They look battered. They look beaten. And even in games and stretches where they can still summon it, it manifests itself at different times. Whether it's, again, I think it's Curry being loose at the basketball, Jimmy Butler settling for threes, Draymond Green using all of his strength just to box out a Steven Adams or Shea. You know what actually hit me last night? This was a play where you could see Draymond Green's age. Alperen Şengün out-wrestled him for a free throw. When have you ever seen Draymond Green get wrestled for an offensive rebound on a missed free throw? Ever. I can't recall one. That happened last night. It happened twice, once to Moses Moody, but it also happened to Draymond Green. And it's because he was powerless and could do nothing about it. And I think that's where the age shows. 888-957-9570 is the number. Promise Big Smooth. Big Smooth. What's going on, man? How we doing?
Morning, gentlemen. Man, you guys are on fire today. Just some thoughts on the game last night. I'm not even upset anymore because I can clearly see that their young people are up for it. Our young people, for whatever reason, they're disappearing here. I always thought that because when you look at the game, you see them shooting a quick double to Steph quickly. And the next move is not sufficient because somebody's open, right? But the problem is Houston's saying, okay, we'll let you shoot. We understand we're leaving an open man, and we have not punished them. We don't have anybody that can punish them. Even I'm willing to put number 12 in because he was a G League Defensive Player of the Year. Put him in, shoot, because what's happening now is we started GP to deal with Van Vliet, and for a minute it was focus time, but then all of a sudden Van Vliet, if he's open for a second, he's going to shoot, and right now he's not missing. I clearly see last night, that's the reason why I'm not upset, small ball, as we come to love, is over. I guarantee you we'll get another big. Double big is killing us. Steven Adams is the problem. I know we're looking at all these other players, but I've seen the Warriors take Şengün out of games easily. It's Steven Adams. That's why he played a season-high minutes yesterday, and you're going to get a heavy dosage of him on Saturday. That's what we have not figured out. Quentin Post, he's not there, man. He's like a deer in the headlights in the. I mean, he had the 12-rebound game, fine. But he's going for easy pump fakes. Buddy Hield, to me, is playing like a rookie. He plays like a rookie. He can get 16, and that's wonderful. But Buddy Hield every game does something. I go, what the heck was that? Every game, every game, he'll shoot. Even when he's shooting lights out, he'll do one thing where you'll go, what the heck, buddy? I've come to accept that with Buddy. You're gonna get the what the heck out of him. Draymond, I didn't like the start of that game. I didn't like the flagrant. It was, come on, man. We're past this now. These guys are not scared. We're past that. We got to be more cerebral. They're not. That's not going to get them. I know Draymond thinks the tech is going to fire up the team. You needed somebody to make plays last night. When Pods has that pod shooting game, which I haven't seen it, man. I haven't seen that Pod. I think the one game, what do you have, 20-something?
Yeah.
We need that to win. We need Steph will see, because what's happening now is starting to be like Luka. Now they can absorb Steph going for 30. They can absorb Jimmy going for 28. But there's not a third guy, and that's the problem. We don't have a third scorer. And I don't know if we would have won with Jimmy, without Jimmy. That's not the point. To me, the point is, if nobody else can hit a jump shot, consistently other than Steph, we can't beat these guys. This double big is problematic. We don't have the personnel to match them when they're playing double big. That's just a fact. We don't have the personnel. If we think about it, if we had somebody like Andre Drummond, you know how much that would help? You say, Andre, you just stay with Steven Adams. They're both big, burly dudes. The big man is back, and we caught without we don't have that. And if Quentin Post is not that type of big guy anyway, so we got a problem, gentlemen. Can we win one? Sure, we can win one for the Gipper. But right now, man, we look and think about all the teams that are remaining in the West. There's a big man that we can't contend with on all these teams that are left. OKC has the double bigs. We can't figure out Jokic, but they also have Jordan. Jordan is still in the league for a reason because the big man is back. I guarantee you next year we'll have a big guy. We'll have a big, burly.
Yep. No, I got you, Big Smooth. Sorry, we got a lot of people we got to get to, but I hear your point. As far as the big man situation for the Warriors, unfortunately, Dan, they're not going to get one between now and Sunday. They do have a couple on their bench. I know you like one of them that's specifically young. And really the question, but the issue to me with the whole big situation is you're going to be at a disadvantage either way because Quentin Post is in because he can shoot. He hasn't been shooting. Kevon Looney and TJD.
One rebound last night.
Yeah, well, there weren't many available rebounds because they're all in the hands of Steven Adams. But Trace Jackson Davis and Kevon Looney have become liabilities offensively. And that's also where you struggled last night. I mean, I thought that the Warriors, they couldn't stop Houston for the most part. But Dan, they missed 14 straight shots to start in a span of 6.5 minutes in the fourth quarter. They missed 14 straight shots. And there was a lot of threes. Some were open, some were forced. But they also don't have a big that can get you easy baskets. They don't have many people that can put pressure on the rim besides Jimmy Butler.
I like everything the caller had to say, but he lost me at Andre Drummond. I don't want to get any older, all right? They do need a big, but it ain't Andre Drummond. Go get Gafford if he's available during the offseason. But you're spot on, Collie, because the Warriors right now, usually when you go small, especially the Warriors, it's like, okay, well, we're going to give up some height on the defensive end, but offensively we'll be able to exploit them because they got these bigs out there, and we can just shake them, get to the rim, and then these big redwoods are going to be statues, and they can't stay up with our maneuverability. Well, neither one is working. They're getting exploited defensively and offensively. They're not doing anything against this quote-unquote big lineup.
They don't have an X factor to get one of those two guys off the floor, one of their two bigs. In 2022, it was Otto Porter Jr. He started the last 3 games of the NBA Finals against the Celtics. He was a mismatch problem because he could shoot and knock down. He was a threat to hit threes. For the longest time, it was Andre Iguodala, was someone that would help the Warriors exploit what other teams would do as far as true centers. And then obviously to an extreme example would be Kevin Durant. But the Warriors don't have one of those big lineup breakers. They just don't have it. And I disagreed, Dan, last night with the starting lineup as far as inserting Gary Payton II, though I understood it. I mean, you wanted to try and neutralize a little bit of what Fred VanVleet was doing. It didn't work because he still shot the hell out of the basketball. But to me, you have to find ways to generate offense because that's your best defense at this point, getting back and trying to set something up against this team. Like, they're not going to have a size advantage in whatever series they play in. Nevertheless, against a team like Houston, who's now allowed Steven Adams to look like Pau Gasol.
You see what Rudy Gobert did?
I don't want to see what he's going to do.
Oh, my. I mean, offensively, he was a monster against the Lakers.
What do you have, 20 and 20?
Like crazy. Before I really want to get to these calls, last thing I would say, let me just ask you, Ev. I don't want to sit here and be the attorney and the agent for one Jonathan Kuminga, but was there a point during the game when you're looking at Quentin Post and clearly Quentin Post he didn't belong on the floor? It got to a point where it's like, okay, we just can't use you. You cannot do anything defensively, and you're not helping us offensively. Buddy Hield was giving me nothing. It was one of those bad Buddy Hield games. GP2, absolutely nothing, even on the defensive end. Don't you recognize at some point, because the personality of that game was being defined early in that second half, don't I just say, JK, just see what you got. Just get in the game. I need somebody who can change the personality and the flow of this game. Why not? Because it was very evident that none of those guys were working. And I get it. They're the reason why you got out to the 3-1 lead. But the fact that you can't even look down that your third leading scorer, mind you, a guy who had 33 against this Rocket team, who averaged 21 and 7 against this team, you don't even want to look his way. Just give him 5 minutes to see. And if he's making those silly mistakes, and if he's sped up at 150 miles an hour and giving you 25 pump fakes and don't go anywhere, well, then send him back down.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree that if you're looking for someone that can play above the rim, that can put pressure on the rim, and that is a willing shooter, Kuminga checks all of those boxes. But I also think last night, like, to be fair, before it got out of hand, they were not in that much trouble until the fourth quarter. I mean, they were down 2 at the end of 3. I think the most they trailed by in the first half was 12. And then Curry went on that spurt to tie it at 46 before the half. They go down 5. Like, the game was within reach. And when a game is within reach, I think we just know that Steve Kerr is not going to play Jonathan Kuminga. Let's go to Mona. Mona's in Pacifica. Mona, how we doing? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, you guys. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Good, good. So I just want to know why we are not discussing more of the, and I'm saying this, kind of tongue in cheek, the ineptitude of Kerr. You guys talked about it as as you went out to break a little bit. He's getting out coached. I mean, it's Stevie Wonder can see this. He's getting out coached. Udoka basically made adjustments, and they have stymied Steph the entire series. Sure, he's gotten off a couple shots, but for everything that they've done, when they started playing the zone on us, we couldn't combat that. And I'm looking at Steve Kerr, and I'm just kind of like, dude, are you really this stubborn? Or are you can't see what's going on? He's made very few adjustments. They cannot, I don't know why they don't start doubling Van Vliet. He's been killing us on the three-point line. And I don't know what it is about some of these mediocre three-point teams that when they play us, they become, like basic, geniuses at the three-point line. So I'm wondering, we can belabor the point about Steph and the players and all that. Sure, they need to do their own thing. But a lot of the onus, I think we should be putting on Kerr and trying to figure out, why are you doing the same things that you're doing? Why have you not made those adjustments? I thought the same thing last night. Put Kuminga in for maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Let's see what he does. Maybe he'll surprise you. And if he doesn't, sit him down. But at the end of the day, I'm not hopeful about tomorrow. And I agree with, I think it was Beast Move. I'm not hopeful. I literally stopped watching the game in the first quarter because you could see where it was going. Despite those ebb and flows of them trying to come back, you just could kind of tell. And if they win tomorrow, okay, that's fine. But are they going to get past Minnesota? I don't know. So, you guys, I love listening to you on Saturdays. Have a great day. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Thanks, Mona. Appreciate the call.
Where are all these callers during the year?
Well, they're around.
They're good,
around.
Man. All these callers.
It does feel like a lot of the calls we took before they got Jimmy Butler. But I hear Mona, and I do think that Kerr I didn't agree with what he did with the starting lineup last night, and I think that
what's he going to do? I mean,
I think his reliance on specific players but that's also put them in this situation. Yeah. Like they're what, 24 and 10 now since Jimmy Butler got here, playoffs included. I mean, I understand where during the regular season, look, there were some signs of, all right, how are we going to play against the best teams? Are we going to be able to match up with those squads? But even then, they passed some of those tests. They beat Denver on a back-to-back. They beat Milwaukee with Giannis. Without Steph, mind you. They beat the Lakers on the road. They beat Memphis twice in a play-in game. They passed every test that they could. And so while I understand that people are frustrated with Steve Kerr, and I get it. I didn't agree with him inserting GP2 into the starting lineup, and I think we'll see Moses Moody back or Pods back in the starting lineup in Game 7. A lot of this is just tipping your cap to the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Houston Rockets are the number 2 seed for a reason. Mona pointed something out that I agree with, and you said how the Warriors were still very much in this game going into the fourth quarter, only down 2. Didn't you get the sense that, they were connected to the Rockets, but the Rockets were in control of that game? Like when the Warriors went on a run, it was like Steph Curry hitting crazy threes, Jimmy Butler with nearly a 4-point play at the end of the half. It was like these, I don't know, it seemed gimmicky. When I saw Houston, there was no magic potion. There was just, they're beating you straight up. They're getting second opportunities, and they're doing what they do. The Warriors, it just seemed like Steph was hitting threes with 2 guys in his face. It was so hard-earned that, they were within 2, but I never, at any point, did I have a sense of security that the Golden State Warriors could walk down that Houston team last night.
I agree. Yeah, I just think that last night was a classic scenario of the war of attrition catching up to the Golden State Warriors. Fred VanVleet has been shooting the freaking lights out from three-point range. Steven Adams has been a monster in the middle. And the Warriors are a roster that we knew coming into this series was going to struggle with size, was going to struggle with young players. And Houston has got their confidence, and they are playing really well right now. I also think, too, it's like, you look back at, all right, well, how did they win those first three games? Curry hit a lot of tough shots in game one. Jimmy Butler was awesome in game four. Pods contributed. In game three, Steph went insane, and defensively, they were able to limit Houston. That's been the equation to try and get some of these victories. And did I feel like that they were in control of that game yesterday? No, I didn't, Dan. But the three games they've won have been in those tight situations where they've been there and the Rockets haven't. The issue is they just didn't get there. It's because Houston blew the doors off them at the beginning of that fourth quarter. All right, 888-957-9570 is the number. I see you working back there, Pasta. If we could go to Coach Hall in San Diego. Coach Hall, what's going on, my man? How we doing?
Hey, what's up, guys? Man, I am fused over here in these airways. I'm screaming while I'm driving. Last night was so frustrating, and to me, I think that Kerr and Draymond have to get a lot of the blame. I think Draymond has been damn near unplayable since the Celtics. What was that, game 3 of the Celtics series when we won? Where, Kerr did a masterful job of coaching by subbing him in and out, but bring him or make a freaking 2-foot bunny layup. What are you doing? Those days of being an irritant are over. Nobody's scared of you anymore. And Kerr has to put the best lineup out there. Personally, I think TJD rotates better than Quentin Post. He has quicker lateral movement. He rotates better. Yeah, we might give up the three, but that's where Moody comes in. I thought Moody was cooking yesterday, and then Kerr took him out. Tomorrow, I believe all hands should be on deck, and I think our starting lineup should be Steph, Jimmy, JK, and Moody, or TJD if we're going to go big. You can sub Moody out for TJD to mitigate that. But, man, I honestly do not feel good about tomorrow. I think we might lose in a blowout, but at least we can go down swinging, at least giving these young guys a chance, man. Just let the young guys cook. We have nothing to lose at this point. So that's my take on it.
Thanks, Coach Hall. Well, I mean, you have game 7 to lose. You have your season. That's kind of,
this is going to be fun, buddy.
Well, no, it should be, but that's the chicken and the egg, right? It's like, clearly your old guys are tired. Clearly you need some young players that can step up. And the Warriors haven't gotten that consistently enough over the course of this series. You've gotten in spots, but over the course of the series, you have not been able to rely on your younger players. And maybe that's why we'll see a Jonathan Kuminga in Game 7. But I think it would be unfair to expect him to come in and just rock the cape and kill it in a game after he's been DMP'd for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, but you have no other options at this point. And if he does play well, that's on Steve Kerr, man. I know Steve Kerr can say, well, I got out to the 3-1 lead not playing him. This series screamed for Jonathan Kuminga. And I hope he gets an opportunity. And we'll see. He hasn't looked good in this series. But I think the idea of Steve Kerr just sticking to the guys that he's comfortable with that make the good basketball plays, the Pajemskis, the GP2s, I get it. I understand. But at some point, you need talent. You need raw athleticism, especially against a young team like that of Houston. And the Pajemskis and the Quentin Post of the world and some of these other stiffs, the Buddy Hields, they're not going to get it done. Not when you're talking about, again, a front line of Jabari Smith is 6'10", Şengün 6'11", Amen Thompson 6'7", an up-and-coming star two-way player. These guys are less than 25 years of age. And you want to throw Quentin Post and Buddy Hield and Pajemski and these boys? No, that ain't going to work. So it could just be a matter of, the fact that you can't match them roster for roster. And I do think you're going to go as far as Steph Curry takes you. And Steph Curry is not getting the 4 to 5 days rest as he did in the beginning of the series. or even the 2 days off between games 1 and 2. It's now, it's 48-hour turnaround. And that's what's daunting for the Golden State Warriors.
Jonathan is in San Francisco. Jonathan, what's going on, man? How we doing?
Not good. Hey, follow the leader, right? Well, the two Warriors leader, Draymond Green and Steph Curry, they set up the tone for the Rockets' success last night. Draymond Green with that stupid flagrant early in the first quarter, and Chef Curry. Yeah, he served up this special four-course mindless turnovers early in the game that, they put the Rockets in rhythm. And I don't get how they are, just letting all the Rockets outside shooters wide open all game long. And now it's beginning to look like we have no answer. Because it's not just, like you guys alluded to, it's not just a too big lineup. Aside from Van Fleet and Jalen Green, everyone else is big. Everyone else is athletic. And, it looks like we're going to need a forklift to move Steven Adams. But hey, it's a Game 7. Anything could happen. And this is the only way they could win Game 7. You need DPOY Draymond Green. Of course, playoff Jimmy. And the bench having a good shooting night. And also a nuclear Steph. But the problem is, as you guys talked to earlier, are they going to have the legs for it? Because it's a 48-hour turnaround. And, man, the league has gotten bigger. The big is back. And the problem for us, and I don't know, I think it's something about the Bay Area has this obsession with little guys. You look at the 49ers, little guys. Look at our guys and the Warriors, a bunch of little guys. The Sharks, they drafted this savior, but Calabrini, 5'9". And in NHL playoff, man, those skilled 5'9" guys, they get decked against the board, and that's it for them. So, hey, Game 7, it's going to be nerve-wracking, and hopefully it's a close game. But I don't think so, because it looks like it's checkmate.
Thanks, Jonathan. Hey, well, easy on Celebrini, all right? Macklin's, he's only 19 years old. Take it easy on the young fella.
Yeah, easy on small people. You're offending Pasta over there.
Well, Pasta's not...
What's Pasta checking in at?
5'8".
That was a stray.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's easy. He's working hard back there for us, Dan.
I'm just waiting for Pasta to make me, urinate in my pants because he makes me laugh so hard.
Don't make me give you another 1 minute break.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that, Pasta. By the way, I do have to come down Stevens Road, not for his height, but for something you guys talked about last week when I was gone.
Oh, yeah.
And we absolutely got to get to that. But we're going to dig deep further into the Golden State Warriors when we come back. I promise, I got some good news on the other side.
All right. We could use some.
Well, yeah, because there's not a lot going around. It feels like the Warriors fans are despondent right now, Dan.
I love it.
I thought we've been in this situation. I thought we've been in this situation before.
I love passion. Either way, good or bad, bring it.
Oh, there's been a lot of it. 888-957-9570 Warriors this week. We'll be back after this.
Give me some good news, damn it.
It's a little frustrating. You get the opportunity to close out at home, want to do it. Nonetheless, it's a 7-game series. We know we can win there. Got to go get the win. It can be due to whatever. The reality is the person who wants the ball more will get it, and right now it seems as if they want it more. You move past the 2 losses, they don't matter. A Game 7 is Game 7. I think anytime you had the opportunity to play in a Game 7, it's fun. It's exciting.
Now back to Warriors this week on 95.7 The Game.
Evan Giddings alongside Dan Devone with you, trying to make sense of where the Warriors are at right now. That was Draymond Green. Didn't sound too down, but also didn't sound too up. A very different tone, I feel like, between Game 5 and Game 6, Dan.
Yeah, I think the body language, I think the confidence, the momentum in this series has shifted. And just to reiterate, I strongly believe that they could have swept the Rockets had Jimmy Butler not got hurt in Game 2. Because keep in mind, they won Games 3 and 4 at home. And that's what needed to happen. You needed to get the hell out of there and move on before the light went on or they got their wake-up call and they realized that they're no longer scared of the Golden State Warriors and they're getting some of their battle scars, and that experience and confidence is now shifting in favor of the Houston Rockets. And I don't think they're afraid of the Golden State Warriors. And this is the worst thing that could have happened, is for this thing to elongate and now get into 7 games with a young basketball team that with every passing game, with every minute, every quarter, is becoming more confident and less afraid of the Golden State Warriors and the legends that are Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and Steph Curry.
The number is 888-957-9570. Evan Giddings, Dan Devone. Let's waste no time. Let's go back to the calls. Teddy is in Palo Alto. Teddy, how we doing this morning? What's going on?
I'm great. Me and my dad are huge Warriors fans, and we watch every game, and we watched the whole series, and we were thinking about Game 7. In the beginning of this series, they weren't scoring at as high of a frequency as they are now. Like Game 1 was 85, 95, if I remember.
Yep.
And now they're scoring way higher and scoring way more, and we are too, but we're not matching them the way that we were in the beginning. And so on defense, we just have to stop them. And I think they have 2 guys. They have Van Vliet and Şengün. And we should double Şengün and put Jonathan Kuminga on Van Vliet, because Kuminga's more athletic and taller. And he can play basically every position, maybe not center. So that would be the defensive, and just slow them down. And yes, they have Amen Thompson and all those guys, but we need to combat them on defense and slow them down a little bit. And we have Curry to do his job, but he does it day in and day out on offense.
Great call, Teddy. Great call. Please call in anytime. And you and your father sound like very astute Warriors fans. Yeah, I think, to me, it did start last night more defensively than offensively. I know that they struggled to generate good looks, and obviously they missed 13 or 14 straight shots in the fourth quarter. But before then, to me, Dan, it was the fact that they couldn't get it. It felt like they couldn't get a stop when they needed to. And if you don't have that ability, which is what they did, to Teddy's point, in the first 3 wins they got in this series, then you're going to be in trouble. So I think that, I don't know if it's Kuminga the answer to throw on Van Vliet, but clearly it wasn't Gary Payton II.
And young Teddy, listen up. School's in, youngster. Everything you needed to know about the current state of affairs, Ev, was in the last 2 minutes of that game last night. What were the last 2 minutes? What was the last 2.5 minutes of the game last night? It was mop-up.
Oh, I saw the G League Defensive Player of the Year, Braxton Key.
Exactly. It was Braxton Key and the boys and Spencer all out there. And the Warriors took their starters out of the game, saying, listen, I got to save whatever it is that you have left in the tank for Game 7. They came out of the game much like that as they did midway in the third quarter of Game 5, getting ready for this big closeout game. So Steve Kerr waves the white flag, takes his starters out of the game in the final 2.5 minutes. Houston is up by 15. The starters have just left for that of the Golden State Warriors. Go back and watch the tape. Who was in the game for Houston? I'll tell you. Şengün, Amen Thompson, Tari Eason, Jabari Smith. And you want to know why? Rest is not part of their lexicon. All these boys are 22 or 23 years of age. After the game last night, they were probably like, bro, let's go get some run in the Bay Area. Is there a game down at is there still a run down at the Embarcadero? Why? Let's go play. These boys, the Warriors are looking to save the legs of Steph and load management. That's not even applicable to these youngsters. They were like, let's still play, man. Like, what do you got, Key? Let's play, Spencer. They still had their boys in there because resting their starters is not even a factor when it comes to the Houston Rockets. And that should tell you just about everything you need to know in terms of where these two teams are at going into the decisive Game 7.
Well, and I don't know if it's one person, but I got to be honest, and the guy whose age appears to be the most visible for the Warriors, it's Draymond Green. And it's because, to be fair, he's had the most difficult task, the most taxing task of this series, which is playing excellent defense on Alperen Şengün, having a box out Steven Adams. I mean, he's got to handle Twin Towers down there, and the Warriors don't have a big man good enough either offensively or defensively to stay on the floor alongside him. I have no doubt that the Warriors are at their best when Draymond is playing center, but over the course of this series, he has been worn down. And I thought you saw it last night over and over again. There was a moment on the bench during a timeout when I saw him go over to one of the Warriors' assistant coaches, and he all but threw his hands up. He was kind of gesturing like Adams was elbowing him or Şengün was trying to hook him. Like, he had no answer on the defensive end of the floor. And it wasn't like he couldn't get stops. He couldn't stop Houston from getting to where they wanted to be inside the paint. He looked tired. He looked frustrated. And he looked like someone that wasn't able to do anything about it, to the extent, and we talked about this, the example that I will point to and ask everyone to go watch is Draymond getting out-rebounded on a free throw. He was not able to box out at the free throw line. That is not a Draymond Green that we have come to know and love. And so while Steph has looked older, especially in that fourth quarter, Jimmy Butler obviously ran out of gas. The young players haven't helped them enough. Draymond Green is the one that has taken the brunt of the damage in this series from a Houston team, to your point, that is small, that is big, that is physical, and that appears to not have an end to their battery pack.
This is on the Golden State Warriors, I believe, because there's a bit of arrogance, or they're almost smug that we can do it with Draymond at the 5 position. Because Draymond, like, try and post up Draymond. I still don't think you can do it. But the fact that you didn't address this over not only this past offseason, but over the last 5 years. And I know you can say, well, we just won a title a couple of years ago with Kevon Looney as our big, and we've always done it with smaller teams. But now that you get on the wrong side of 35, you're exactly right. Draymond can still do it, but you have to expend so much energy when you're dealing with Steven Adams and Şengün. You're giving up so much weight and height that when these series get elongated and you get into 6 and Game 7, Draymond Green has got nothing left in the tank. And that's on you, Dunleavy and Kerr, for not addressing this and at least bringing in a serviceable big that can at least rim protect or challenge some of these. Because what do we constantly hear? The big is returned to the NBA. You're damn right. And the Warriors are a little slow to that party.
888-957-9570 is the number. Also the number for the Boxer McGerson Work Injury Attorneys text line. Warriors this week with Evan Giddings and Dan Devone. This show, we want to hear from you. This is from the 408. The Rockets have planned for us and figured us out. The only way to confuse them is with changes. Insanity is trying the same thing over and over, expecting different results. From the 510, playing small is not going to win Game 7. Santos and Knox need more minutes. I don't know if it's those specific guys, but I do agree that the kitchen sink has to be thrown, and that's why I think post-game you're hearing a possibility of Kuminga. You know, Santos only played 2 minutes. Looney only played 2 minutes. Steve Kerr, I thought, had a great Game 3, a game that you and I were both at, where it felt like every button he pushed was there and was perfect. Game 6 was the complete opposite, where it felt like everything he did, it didn't matter, and it just didn't work. Gary Payton to open the game. Fred VanVleet still had 6 of 9 from three-point range. Buddy Hield playing minutes as a starter. He was awful. He had another goose egg last night. Hacka Adams. Yes, he went 9 of 16 from the free throw line, but on 2 of those missed possessions, they got the offensive rebound and got the putback anyways.
Yeah.
Or they got to the free throw line. Like, whatever he did or tried to do did not work. And that's just a fact.
Yeah, and take your hat off to Ime Udoka, who's coaching his butt off. It's a clinic right now. And that 2-1-2 zone, the Warriors just don't have an answer for. Let's get out to the phone. And by the way, somebody on the text line saying that, we're doing a show. Do you think that this is the type of show the fans want before Game 7? Hey, listen, let me just throw this out there. You always got a shot as long as Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler are on your team and wearing a Warriors uniform. So all is not lost. Man, you still got an opportunity to win things. There's one more game left, right? The season is not done. So
I got some good numbers for you coming up.
Yeah, we got some optimism.
We have full lines right now, Dan. So let's go to Sean, who's in Santa Clara, has been hanging on the longest. Sean, what's going on, man? How we doing?
I'm doing good, guys. How you guys doing?
Awesome, man. What do you got?
So I just want to refer to the Houston Rockets real quick. I mean, they are playing great ball. Unfortunately, I work late, so I haven't been able to really see any games. But what I have caught a glimpse of is you guys familiar with Dragon Ball Z at all? Any of you?
Yep.
Okay. In a sense, these Rockets are like Saiyans. If you don't put them down right away, they only grow stronger with every battle. They get stronger, they get more powerful, they learn your tendencies, and they do not stop. They do not relent. I don't know what to say. Draymond Green, that's my guy. He's a beast, but he's tired. You can tell he needs help, and he's not getting it. That's all I got to say. I love you guys. Thanks for having me.
Hold on, Sean. You're saying they got 5 Vegetas or what?
Maybe they got 5 Gogetas at this point.
Oh, I mean, boy.
It's like they're running into a brick wall. Like the first 2 games, they came out strong. The next 2 games, you can kind of see it was slipping, starting to slip, and now these Rockets have got them kind of in a corner to where they're like, hey, it doesn't matter who they have on the floor because
hear you.
I mean, to me, that's what it seems like. It's like they've kind of figured it out to the point where, hey, we've stood up for this long. We're only getting stronger. Yeah, they're really inexperienced, right? But you wouldn't be able to tell that by looking at the game. The first 2 games, you can kind of see the inexperience on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
But now, as of now, these last 2 games, you can see it. They're starting to take over, and I hate it. The fact that I got to give them their flowers because I'm a Warriors fan till I die. But it's just, I mean, you can see it. They're like Saiyans. They're just
I got you,
stronger.
Sean. I got you. I think I'm on an island on that one, but that's totally
I have
fine.
no idea what the hell it is you two were talking about.
You got to watch some cartoons, Dan.
Right.
It'll make you younger. Pasta, I think you missed the boat.
Are you saying that because I'm inexperienced?
Yes, I am. In the anime realm, it appears you are. City Boy's in San Francisco.
Hello.
City Boy, what's up, man?
Hey, what up, E? What's happening? What's up, Dan? Rough game. It's just, it's been a rough series because even when we're winning, these games have been brutal, just slobber knockers, I mean, it's been tough to watch. And Steph last night, honestly, he was great through 3 quarters and he was efficient. And I mean, that 4th quarter hit, and I mean, I think he played the whole 3rd, and he was playing most of the 4th there, and he ran out of gas. But also, it's pretty easy for a defense to just key on Steph. What did he say there? He said they were playing a zone and then they would switch into a box and 1. They would and it's interesting because basically what you're seeing with the Warriors is they have too many specialists. They have all these guys that are good at one thing. And when they're not good at that one thing on a given night, they give you nothing. And that's what you're seeing out of dudes like GP2, Buddy Hield. I mean, Draymond Green, he is fighting on defense. And I don't want to come down his road too much because, I mean, he's a heart and soul and all that. He is terrible on offense. I mean, his passing is the great Draymond Green we remember from championship runs. He was running the offense. He was bringing the ball up the court, playing some point guard. His passing was amazing. His screen setting. You don't see any of that now. I just see turnovers. I mean, I don't see great passes. I don't see him setting up the offense and running the show. I mean, it's and it might be a product of age and being tired and like you guys said, just fighting two goons down in the paint. I mean, it's very difficult what he's doing for sure. And this is why all the fans were clamoring for a guy like Vucevic, even though he's not really a physical big. I mean, he was somebody like that would have been nice at the deadline. But I think, Steve's biggest problem, and I mean, it's like me and my son sitting there watching, and we're thinking, okay, heck, play Pat Spencer, throw Gee in, I mean, because these guys, they fight and they have energy, and I mean, like, Gee has some size too. I'd love to see Gee play, but when you're calling for these dudes to get minutes, it makes you realize you don't really have much. Not that they're not decent players. The point is, who's our third best player right now? And if you look at the 12th man on the bench, and they're pretty comparable to our third best player. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest problem that I have as a fan, wrapping my head around what they need to do. And I think that Steve, that's why he throws out these combos where you're going like, why the heck did you put in Quentin Post and Buddy Hield in the fourth quarter when Moses Moody was balling in the first quarter, and he wanted shooting. But, it's just, I don't know that this is fixable, at least now. I'd love to see them get through Game 7 and maybe put it together, but I think the problem is that Kerr has no idea who to go to, and so he just goes to his vets who he quote-unquote trusts more, and these dudes can't deliver because they're one-trick ponies. They're all specialists. There's no players that are versatile on this team outside of Steph and Jimmy, so,
Thanks, City Boy. No, appreciate the call. Look, a lot of great points. Lot of great points, and I think he's spot on about the fact that the Warriors, like, we talked about their identity towards the end of the season, Dan, and how it was definitely more of a two-way identity than it's been before. But with the Rockets, and if the Warriors are able to get past them, what future teams in the playoffs, are going to show you is that you got better at the deadline, but one player did not just transform you into a championship team. Like, you still have all of those sort of creaks and, I don't want to say necessarily deficiencies, but you still have weaknesses on your roster that were present before Jimmy Butler got here, and it feels like now they're being exposed.
Yeah, and again, it's an older team that's just not getting any rest. And so when your best player and your best players can't contribute in the fourth quarter, that's when I think this series shifted. Let's knock out some of these calls.
All right, let's go to Jan in Mountain View. Oh, one of our favorites. Jan, good morning.
Good morning. I just want to point out first the turnovers, because you see what happened in the first quarter. I mean, they started making sloppy turnovers, and that's what's been given Houston the fuel to start building a lead. And as the game went on, the Warriors, every time you think that they were coming back, Houston was able to capitalize on turnovers and get the rebounds. And Kerr always, likes the small ball. Well, if you're not going to get the rebounds, what you think, you're going to get with those, those players that are shooting for threes, and you don't get the rebounds, well, guess what? Houston's right there in the paint, grabbing them and capitalizing on them. And then I'd like to know why Kerr starting, like near the end of the third quarter. Okay, all the exertion that it took to come back in the end of the third quarter. I mean, you could see that Butler was getting tired. You could see the other players were getting tired. Pods was getting tired. I mean, why didn't you bring in Spencer a little sooner, or DeSantos? At least they were fresh. They had some energy. And JK also. He played in the third in Game 3 and helped when Butler was sitting out that game, and helped Curry. For heaven's sakes, we need to wake up if we're gonna win Game 7, because last night was a disgusting loss, and there should have been no excuse for it. Wow. Thank you.
I got you, Jan. Yeah, it kind of harks back to something City Boy said before, which is, I do think there were a lot of people watching the game, both in the arena and on their televisions, that are saying, hey, can Pat fit here? Can Gee fit there? And it's as much a reflection of, well, the guys on the floor just ain't doing nothing, as, God, we really don't have a lot of options on this roster.
Yeah, if you're getting to the point where you're going to rely on Gee Santos and Pat Spencer to save the day, that pretty much tells you everything you need to know. Listen, we can break this down on Steve Kerr, and you can talk about specific players, and everybody's got their quote-unquote takes. I love the phone line lit up like a Christmas tree. But I think at the end of the day, I think you might have to entertain that when you think about this young Houston Rocket team that, again, that has the light went on, and you couldn't get out of this series soon enough. I thought you had an opportunity to sweep this thing. It didn't happen. Unfortunate. Jimmy Butler got hurt in game 2. The light's gone on, and right now when you think about these young players, the Warriors just can't match up. They're just, I think Houston, at some point you got to say the Houston Rockets roster right now is just the Warriors don't have an answer for these young fellas.
Outside of 1 through 3, you're right. The Rockets roster is better. And right now, at least the last 2 games, the Warriors 1 through 3 hasn't been good enough to overcome the remainder of their own roster, or it hasn't been able to carry them. You know, Curry and Butler carried you in game 1. Curry, along with Draymond, helped carry you in game 3, and then Butler returned those 3, helped carry you in game 4. Pods chipped in, other guys helped, but it's been largely on the big 3. And the big 3 obviously didn't have it in game 5, and I thought the big 3 ran out of gas in game 6. And they're going to have to summon some sort of gasoline for game 7. And I got some good news coming your way, but I do want to hear from our listeners at 888-957-9570. Also the number 4, the Boxer and Gerson work injury attorneys text line. This is from the 650. Role players are not helping us enough. Curry, Jim, you're having to play too many minutes. Pods healed, gave us nothing. Still no JK. Team messed up by not moving Kuminga. Yeah, we'll get to that down the line, but fair point, 650. Ian is on 880. Ian, how we doing, man?
Hey, well, that's a heck of a question, but, I mean, I'm cool, you know, I mean, it is what it is. I called in, and while I was, waiting and listening to the radio, with City Boy and that young fella, Alex, when I called in, what I was thinking and saying was, we're facing probably the best defensive team in the league right now. And I'm talking about playoffs. I'm not talking about, regular season stats, with their size and their, length and athleticism, the three big deal factors. And I think what it really boils down to, City Boy, Jan put a little bit on it, and Alex, is we just don't have the firepower, dude. We could talk about age, all that stuff can be overcome. That pressure can be taken off. Those legs get a lot froggier when that basketball goes through the hoop. So we don't have a third scorer. We've only got 2. One game, Pajemski stepped up, but he's not good enough to step up every game and be a consistent scorer. Hield came through for us that one game. He's not good enough to do that. I think, honestly, when you look at this roster and you talk about the things City Boy was talking about and Alex was talking about and Jan was talking about, that kid Alex, he had a real good idea. Starting Kuminga, man. Starting him probably at the guard or at a forward since he plays more forward, and put Jimmy at the guard, because we need firepower. Scoring trumps everything. Everything is equal. Scoring trumps everything.
Thanks, Ian. Appreciate the call. I see everyone else here. We do have to hit a break here in a minute, but you want to respond to that, Dan?
He's very intimately familiar with our caller base, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I mean, hey, look, we got the smartest callers in the Bay Area. Everyone knows this.
I'll just say this: if we want to get into Jonathan Kuminga talk, you know how I feel that he should have been playing a lot sooner than this. I think calling on Jonathan Kuminga now, it's almost like an admission of guilt on the part to me, Steve Kerr. Like I'm going to use Jonathan Kuminga. Well, that option's been there all along. Your third, I'm just going to reiterate and I'll shut up and we'll get to the break. Your third leading scorer who's averaging 21 points and 7 rebounds against this very Houston Rocket team and erupted for 33 points without Steph and without Draymond Green in a game before Jimmy Butler was on the squad. And for whatever reason, he's not playing in this series, in a series in which you need somebody who can score the basketball. I get it. He is a young player that's still susceptible to young mistakes, but you ran out of options, like, to me, a lot sooner than this.
All right, Dan. We can go there on the other side if you want, but obviously we want to keep taking people's calls. We got to get our texts in. We see you on YouTube and Twitch, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. The floor is yours. How are you feeling going into Game 7 on the heels of the back-to-back defeats that have forced a Game 7 after the Warriors
How you feeling,
3-1?
You feeling pretty good?
I am.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, look, two best words in sports. Game 7.
It's going to be fun, man.
It's the two best. I know it's the first round. A lot of people are nervous, and I get it, but last time they were in a Game 7, Steph did something pretty historic, and I remember that was a lot of fun. So we'll see if we got something in store tomorrow. But got to hit a break here. Warriors this week. We'll be back after this. 95-7 The Game.
I'd like to see some more Pat Spencer in my life.
Dan. Led to like 14 Houston points. But I also thought, sure, some of those were lazy. A couple of those were just, Thompson's a really good defender. Shoot, they're long. They're getting into your jersey. Passing lanes aren't available for you.
No.
That's what Houston does. Home. Well, no, not yet, Draymond. You can't go home yet because you got to pack. You got to pack for a week, buddy. You don't just got to pack for Houston tomorrow. You got to pack to go to Minnesota on Tuesday, and then stay there.
Shut up, Evan. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
That wasn't me.
Oh, that wasn't. Who was that? Play that again.
I would never say that. That was.
Shut up, Evan.
Oh, that was Steiny. Of course. Of course. Yeah, man.
Drop the shut up to anybody.
I know. All right, let's start the segment off with a call. Let's go to Bobby in Los Altos. Bobby, what's up, man?
Hey, giddy kids. I'll try to be quick this time.
No. Hey, the floor is yours.
Hey, I say this with love. There's no greater listen than a disgusted Jan in Mountain View. It's gold. So, Jan, let's meet up at that Mickey D's in El Monte. And also, since we've been referencing previous callers to that young student who called from Palo Alto, the proper way to say it is my dad and I watch the games, not me and my dad. Please, let's fix that early before you have a lifetime of bad grammar. Now, please, guys, help me talk me off the ledge here. We needed to win Game 5 for rest purposes. We couldn't do it. We needed to win Game 6. We couldn't do it. So what kind of confidence am I supposed to have that we can win Game 7? Like, seriously, I need a legitimate material reason how we can get it done Sunday when we couldn't get it done the last 2 games. Because this idea of championship medal, sorry, man, if we had championship medal, we would have taken care of it Game 5, and we certainly would have taken care of it Game 6, and it didn't happen. Have we been game planning incorrectly? Is Steve Kerr going to figure something out tonight that's going to work for us? I honestly feel like if we're going to win tomorrow, we're going to win like 85-78. And if you guys want to reference Sacramento, I don't know. I just don't buy it. This ain't like no 90-minute bus ride up I-80 in terms of travel, right? You got these guys that got to go on a plane and travel for 5 hours. I get it. Like, only 30 of them need to be on a plane that fits 400, but it's still travel. I just don't have a reason or an understanding of what it is that could be different, that I should expect a different outcome other than, maybe like a coin flip kind of thing. But is there some material reason that I should have confidence that we have figured something out? Because I just don't know what it is. Please help me out.
Thanks, Bobby. Appreciate the call.
Here's how you have a chance, is that the Houston Rockets have a team meal at the same sushi restaurant that Pajemski went to out in Houston, which, by the way, I would never suggest anybody to get sushi in Houston. But whatever.
Yeah, okay. Like Pods. Actually, you know what? That's another area where the Warriors' inexperience is showing, where the youth is really coming into play. You can't go get seafood in Houston. Or at least get good. I mean, there's some spots, but you're playing with your gullet there. Well, you don't know. It could be something else. But I'll give you something material.
Here we go. Is this the good news you've been promising?
Yeah.
All right.
Game 7s. Steph Curry's playing 5 of them, Dan.
Okay.
He's averaged 33 points, 7 assists, 6.5 rebounds. The last 2 Game 7s that Jimmy Butler's played in, which one, by the way, the Boston Celtics pushed them from a 3-0 deficit to a Game 7 in Miami when he was in Miami. They won that Game 7 after nearly being the first team in the history of basketball to blow a 3-0 lead. In his 4 appearances in Game 7s, he's averaged 22 and 6. But his last 2 games, he's averaged 31 points and 8 rebounds. And one time, oh, by the way, he sent the Celtics home and got to the NBA Finals. Those 2 players, and I understand it might sound nostalgic. It's about things that have happened in the past, but that's why you should feel good. It's because any given night with the Warriors, you can have the 2 best players on the floor. And in Game 6, they may have been the best players for 3 quarters. They were not in the 4th. But when they've been those players, Games 3, Game 1, Game 4, those are the games that you have won. Those two guys have to lead you. And if they don't, then you're right, Bobby. You're not going to be feeling great, and the Warriors are probably going to be headed back to the Bay.
I guess the only thing I would say is that when you talk about what it is that those guys have done in Game 7s, they were younger men back then. Yeah, and that's really sort of where this is at and sort of begins and ends with me. And this isn't Monday morning quarterbacking, at least for me. I've talked about the age of this team and how it would catch up to them at some point. But still, let's keep hope alive, all right? It's a Game 7, and it's going to be fun to see because you know those two boys are going to leave it all out, and they're going to let it rip, even if they have to reach down and there's nothing left. So something has to give, and I love Game 7. And listen, you have a shot as long as this is why Butler joined this team and why you have for Game 7s and big playoff games. This is where Butler lives. So, there's a puncher's opportunity here to get past Houston.
I mean, you can make a case that, like the Warriors traded for Jimmy because the season was going
we're really trying to sugar this thing, but go ahead.
Well, you got to try. No, you want to know why? The reason why you should feel confident. Well, you want me to tell you that it's because Gary Payton II is all of a sudden going to out-rebound Steven Adams, or the Warriors are going to be able to get 7 years younger between now and Sunday? No, the reason, and it may not make people feel better, but tomorrow is why you traded for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why you gave up what you gave up, which, by the way, wasn't a whole lot.
Yeah.
That's why you paid him for an additional 2 seasons. It's for a game like tomorrow. And if they lose, well, then we're going to have a really difficult conversation about whether or not that trade was actually worth it, because if you can't beat Houston now, you and I were both talking about this before the series started. If you can't beat them now, I don't know how the hell you're going to beat them next year or the year after that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think they woke up during this series. Let's get to the phone lines. Before we do that, really quick, there was something that you just mentioned.
No, I say a lot of great
about. Let's get to the phone lines because I forgot my train of thought.
All right, sounds good. Maxine, San Francisco, wants to talk about Kerr. Maxine, how we doing? Good morning.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Awesome.
I wanted to call in after that other game where, we were down 30 points and then the bench came in and did this great job that Houston, had to put back in their, starting lineup. And I just thought to myself, the next game they should just start that bench. They should play that bench because the bench did so well. So I'm just really tired. I didn't even watch the game last night because I'm tired of Coach Kerr's comfortability level being the definitive reason that we keep losing these games that we don't need to lose. So, I just got questions is when is this franchise going to stop catering to Coach Kerr's comfortability and play some big guys? Thank you.
Sorry, thanks, Maxine. Well, there are not a whole lot of big guys to play, number one. We knew this about the team coming into the season, and I realized they made a trade for Jimmy Butler, but when they got Butler, we were talking about this, you didn't get any bigger, you didn't get any more shooting, you didn't get any younger, and all three of those things have been visibly present in their last 2 losses. And I think last night, they put all their eggs in that basket. They did not come out with any sort of effort in Game 5. They got appropriately waxed. And they said, we're going to win it on our home floor and advance to the next series. And Houston took it to you. That's the consequence. And that's another, to me, I guess, ramification of how old the team is. Yeah. That you can't play hard every single game in the playoffs. It just doesn't work that way.
Well, they knew how big the game was, to your point, and they knew that this is the opportunity to close it out. And they reached down into that tank, and there's just nothing left. It's not a matter of there's 50-50 balls, and all of a sudden Draymond Green and company don't want those, or they recognize the moment, but if you don't have your legs, you don't have your legs. And again, broken record time, I know, but as soon as this series shifted to where it was just a day off in between games, I think this older roster of the Golden State Warriors got exploited.
Another Maxine in Antioch. What's going on, Maxine? Back to back. How we doing?
Hi, what are the chances of two Maxines back to back?
Sound great.
Hey, so listen, bros, where's the joy? Where's the joy?
Let's
Remember
go,
that? Do you only have joy when you're winning? I mean, come on. I mean, it is sad, okay? I mean, I quit watching after the first quarter because you could see the writing on the wall. And Draymond, after that play, Grant, in the beginning, is like, do you even want to play? I mean, come on. But anyway, so we can go on and on about everything bad and Kerr, blah, blah, blah. And it's all true. But, you know, where's the joy, guys? They talk about joy. Kerr talks about joy. But you don't see any joy. And I think when you play with some enthusiasm, with some joy, with something, you're going to play better.
Thanks,
you know?
Yeah.
Job, Maxine.
No doubt. I think you, in that regard, to Maxine's point, you do have to credit Houston a little bit last night because every time it felt like the Warriors were trying to get into a rhythm or find some of their joy on the court, again, Houston hits a big shot or they get to the free throw line or maybe the Warriors just make a mistake.
Yeah, joy comes with winning. And I never felt at any point in that game, even when they got within two and the crowd got into it, I was just like, this still does not feel right. Like it was like a bubble. I was just like, yeah, there's no real foundation here. I can see the structure with what it is that Houston's doing. That seems legitimate with the Warriors and Steph hitting threes and Jimmy Butler with these miraculous shots. It's just like, I don't know if that's really sustainable for another quarter. I don't know. I never felt very good about the Warriors trying to catch a Rocket team. And, you know, I just think that the confidence switch went on with this Rocket team. And that's,
when do you think it did?
I think as the series went on, and I think I use Amen Thompson as a perfect example. We knew what he could do defensively. But offensively, if you watched him in the early portion of this series, he wasn't very good around the rim. He was missing a lot of easy shots. Same with Şengün. When the Warriors beat them in games 3 and 4, Şengün missed so many bunnies. He missed so many shots around. It wasn't necessarily what it was that Draymond was doing defensively. He missed so many easy shots. Look at those two players now. Look at Amen Thompson now. When he's coming to the paint, he's very definitive in terms of what it is that he wants to do. And you could just see the growth from game 1. I'm just using one player as an example. From game 1 now to a game 7. And I think that's been sort of pervasive throughout that entire young basketball team, which is why the Warriors needed to get the hell out of there and move on. But instead, these young players now, once again, they got the hammer in their hands now. And they got the leverage and they've got the confidence.
Yeah, they've grown up quickly over the course of this series. And I think it's apparent in their shooting splits. I mean, if you want to boil it down to that, the Rockets are making shots now. And that's actually, when they won 95-85, the Warriors did, we had conversations after that game that it's like, all right, well, Houston, I dare you to make shots. I don't think that Houston can make enough shots to win this series. Over the last 3 games, they're shooting above 50% from the floor. They're shooting about 40% from three-point range. They're making free throws, especially the last 2 games. They opened 13 of 13 in Game 5 in the first quarter. They did miss a decent amount in Game 6, but primarily because of Steven Adams being sent to the line 16 times. They're making their free throws. They're making their shots. And when they do, they're a very hard team to beat because of how good they are defensively. All right, let's go to... thank you, Pasta. God, we got Pasta working hard back here today. Let's go to Mitch is out in Jersey. Mitch, what's going on, man? How we doing?
Good. How you guys doing? Thanks for taking my call.
Fantastic.
Day up here in the East Coast.
Yeah.
I hope it's nice over there. I've been to San Francisco once in May, and it was pretty cold.
No doubt. What do you got?
It's just like the Lakers. We don't have it. They need a big guy in the middle, another power forward.
and they're younger. Houston's got some teams. I'll go with that losing and getting rid of Harden. They really got some young cats there. And our young cats, you got to admit, Kuminga and Moody, leave a lot to be desired. What do you think? Can they catch it today? Tomorrow? Or is it time to rebuild a little bit? Because Looney and Green, Draymond Green, I think they're pretty much finished.
I got you, Mitch. Thanks for the call.
You know, when he's talking about Moody and Kuminga, I can't help but think that Şengün was on that board and just sitting there.
There were a lot of guys on that board. I mean, Wagner was picked right after Kuminga. Yeah. There were a lot of...
But instead of
that draft class is freaking loaded.
Oh, yeah, from Cade Cunningham to Barnes to all those boys. But I know...
Jalen Green, Suggs, Jalen Johnson. Shoot.
But Şengün was the perfect... You know what? So I know it's after the fact, but I did a show with JD. Can I mention JD's name? Back in the day, it was an NBA draft anyway.
Sure.
And I said, because I had a buddy's son who was living in Tel Aviv, and I think he was an NBA scout, and he hit me up and he just said, there's this dude named Alperen Şengün. He's out of Turkey, but I've seen this dude play. You Warrior boy, you got to take him, Dan. I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not the GM. And so during this show with JD, I just mentioned, I'm like, hey, there's a guy named Alperen Şengün. I've never seen him play, but apparently he's the perfect fit for the Warriors. And I remember at the time, he said, well, listen, if this turns out to be anything, Dan, well, I'll always remember that you made this call. Well, here we go.
I wonder if he still remembers. Mojo Rising is in Castro Valley. Mojo. Where's the Warriors mojo?
Yo, man, what's happening, y'all? Hey, look, man, as a long-time Warriors fan, which I have been my whole life. I'm an old guy, so over 30 years. Man, this is on, I agree with the first Maxine. This is on Kerr. I don't know what's the deal with his coaching these days, but one, he sacked Kuminga for whatever reason. Kuminga's one of our young athletic guys that can play defense, can drive to the basket, can get rebounds. And not only that, we can't combat their big men, right? You got Adams. The dude is a monster. Şengün is huge. We got one guy, Looney. Looney's been around. He's got experience. I don't know why, for the love of me, he will not put in Looney. Looney's the only guy that has a chance to get rebounds. Look at his percentage. He's got one of the highest percentage of offensive rebounds. He won't put him in. I don't get it. So, as a longtime Warriors fan, I've seen it all. I have no faith at all. No faith at all we're going to win that game tomorrow. How? What's going to change? We talk about the young guys for Houston. We got young guys, too. We got Podziemski, Post, Moody. We got a bunch of young guys in Kuminga that he won't play. So the youth thing is killing us, but we got young guys, too. So unless he's going to play Looney to get rebounds, because you got to combat their size. Draymond Green and Curry, love them. Love Curry especially, but turning the ball over. Stupid turnovers. Just throwing the ball to them is ridiculous. They've done it their whole careers, but they've been able to mask it before because we've been better. We can't do that anymore. So I don't know about you guys and all the rest of the people out there, but like I said, we're going to need a miracle, and I mean a miracle to win tomorrow. And what a loss it's going to be. You get Jimmy Buckets to do all this, and we're up 3-1, and we're going to be the 14th team in history to lose after being up 3-1. I agree with Jan, too. It's disgusting. It was an absolute disgusting loss. No energy. Play Kuminga, play Looney. And Kerr, I don't know. Kerr's got to go as a coach. He just doesn't. Ime is a way better coach than Kerr. So I don't know what to say, everybody, but we're in big trouble come tomorrow, man. Big trouble.
Damn, Mojo. Just zapping everybody. I mean, I understand it, but boy. I also think it's interesting how over the course of a series, you see how the deeper it gets, the roller coaster ride of labels changes for each player. Like the legacy gets judged so quickly. Like after game 3, everyone that was calling in, both to our show or post game, was like, oh, coach, he's coaching circles around Udoka. Ime doesn't know what he's doing. He looks inexperienced. He's just like his team. They're just a bunch of goons. They don't know what they're doing. They're just rolling the ball out there and playing. And then 2 games later, it's like, well, actually, Kerr's lost. I mean, Udoka's coaching circles. What is he doing? Does this guy have a clipboard? Does he have does he know what he's doing on that sideline? It's like, I actually don't think that Udoka has done much differently over the course of this series, Dan. I think that the best adjustment that he made was not making an adjustment at all. He has done some more things, but He didn't bench Jalen Green like everyone wanted him to between Game 4 and Game 5. He didn't go smaller against a small Warriors lineup that handled them, specifically in Games 1 and Game 3. He stuck with their guns. He stuck with what got them here and trusted that his guys were going to eventually be able to walk down the Warriors, and they have.
In implementing that zone, it's a matchup zone. They'll go to a box and one with Steph, but that 2-1-2 with Adams in the middle. I mean, he found gold, and I think that's really stymied the Warriors. And that's on Udoka. You know, the beauty of Udoka is that he doesn't tolerate stupid mistakes.
Dude, he got into Jalen Green's jersey yesterday after he made a bad turnover in the first quarter. Like, he lit into him at half court during a timeout.
He's one of the few guys that still does that because we know it's a players' league. You can't alienate today's players because in a lot of ways they run the league. Once they get some tenure, they can pretty much look at Darvin Ham. Like, if the players will decide whether you're going to get, an opportunity to come back more often than not. And he's sort of old school. And I think that he has created that culture there where, this team scraps and gets after every loose ball. And a lot of it's on Udoka. And just in terms of the schematics, I don't want to compare him with Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr, I get it. We overreact. It's what we do. Last week, Kerr was a genius, to your point. Steve Kerr, when it's said and done with, he's going to go, to me, he's going to be in that pantheon with Riley. I put him up there, with Red Auerbach. I put him up there with Popovich, who just retired. He's won, and he's won at a high level. Is he getting out-coached in this series? Is he still open to criticism? Hell yeah, because that's what we do. And I'm on record saying that J.K. should have been playing a lot sooner this, but don't get this thing crooked. I still think Steve Kerr is a legendary coach when it's all said and done with.
John's in D.C. wants to talk about last night's game. John, what's going on? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How you guys doing?
Awesome, man. How are you?
All right. I'm going to try to be brief as possible. I was listening to, I don't know if you or the other guy, talk about J.K. should have been playing sooner. I agree with you 100%, 1,000% really. But, okay, J.K. haters would hate him so much when Steve Kerr put him on the bench. Okay, they hate him so much, and now they want J.K. to play. Why J.K. is not playing? But you know what? If they play J.K. like Steve Kerr said they gonna play him, if they win, they still gonna hate him. If they lose, they still gonna hate him and put the blame on J.K. If I was J.K., I wouldn't even play. I'm gonna be honest with you. If I could get away with it, because they're not right the way people is down in this board. When I'm crazy about Steph Kerr, you got him can do anything he wanted. Draymond Green can't average 8 points a game. Okay. And his body's so good, why haven't he helped won the championship when he was with Miami? Yes, they made it to the playoff, but have he helped won a championship? But then he go along also with the young guys like Paul, Moody, guys like that, put everybody in except J.K. sabotaging this young guy. And people hate him for no reason at all. The minute he make one mistake, when I see Steph Kerr and a bunch of more of these other young guys make mistakes, nothing never said about it. And that's really all I have to say about it. And I do think Houston going to win the game. And it won't surprise me at all. And I really don't care. Thank you.
Appreciate it, John. I do think a lot of people are leaning that way.
I really don't care. Good night.
Oh, well, they're going to have to care tomorrow. Look, I'm looking forward to the game. It's... You get to see what people are made of. The series has not gone the Warriors' way as of late.
Anybody out there have anybody on the call line give us any optimism? Anybody pulling for the Warriors?
I mean, you'd think this series was already over. It's
Give me a scenario where the Warriors win this thing. Come on, people. I know you're out there.
I thought it would be Mojo Rising. I thought he would come in and bring some good vibes, but he was maybe the most negative.
It was Mojo falling. Mojo deep diving. I mean, this guy's... Look, I understand the trepidation around a Game 7, especially for a team that's been outworked and outplayed for the better part of the last two games. But you got to give them a chance.
Well, here's the level of optimism that I'll throw at this, all right? And I understand. Look, Houston should win this game. But Can Van Vliet maintain shooting at this clip? At some point, he's got to come back down to earth. He might.
I mean, I don't know.
He might. But at some point, he's got to come back to being Van Vliet. There's a chance that the Houston Rockets, if this game is close late in the game, that inexperience once again resurfaces. And a lot of what's gone right for them is not necessarily going to be a factor in Game 7. I would also add this, that just to oversimplify it, to beat a team 3 times in a row, it's not easy to do.
That I agree with. 888-957-9570 is the number. Also the number for the Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line. YouTube powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Evan Giddings, Dan Devone back after this on Warriors This Week.
at the end of the three quarters, they came out not ready to start the fourth quarter. It was inexcusable. And they lose 115-107. A disaster of a fourth quarter. And the Warriors are hoping that Game 7 won't end as a disaster of a series.
I won't say that it's a lack of effort. It's just if you want to do it or not. That is the bottom line. If you want to rebound, if you want to dive on a loose floor, if you want to take a charge, all those little things is if you want to do it. It's really that simple.
Now back to Warriors This Week on 95.7 The Game.
Yeah, it was Jimmy Butler after the 115-107 Game 6 loss last night. Evan Giddings, Dan Devone. Dan, I would add, also if you have the legs to do it. Like, it's one thing to want to do it. It's another thing to go, all right, let me go for it. Oh, wait, I'm not getting to that ball before they are.
He's too old.
Rockets are fast, man. But like we knew this going into the series. Even like despite whether they're younger or not, like they're fast, they're quick. They get to every contest. And they run you off the 3-point line and they make it tough. And it puts more pressure on you to capitalize on your opportunities. And last night they did not.
And again, it takes so much energy to get to the rim, which is what it is that I think that the Warriors really need to do. Is they become so reliant and so one-dimensional. It's, the feast or famine with the three right now. It's Daryl Morey basketball. And the Warriors, I know, once you get to the rim, you got to deal with Steven Adams and even Şengün, which is why I think the mid-range is there. But it's something that just, for whatever reason, not only relegated to the Warriors, but in the NBA, it's just something we don't do anymore, for whatever reason.
Yeah, if you're taking 53 pointers in a game, you're taking half your shots or more from downtown, it's because there's nothing available to you inside in the paint, and you're unwilling to step back and take a 15-foot jump shot. And that's not the way that modern basketball is played, but it might be how you have to win in the postseason. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings, Dan Devone on Warriors This Week. Let's go out to Sean in Petaluma. Wants to talk about what the Warriors need. Sean, what's up, man? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Real quick, I just want to say, I think overall, we need a big, that's for damn sure. And basically, it just looks like they're gassed, and it looks like, basically besides that and Jimmy, like there's nobody else that can just like make it happen. So we just got to get it done. And it's funny, I do find it hilarious that it's about what you've done for me lately, right, with Kerr, because like just yesterday and the day before, he's the greatest coach on earth, and now, Udoka's better. So, really, just everybody chill. We're lucky to have him, and it's just Game 7, let's get it done.
Thanks, Sean. Well,
I'll take it.
Well, but I also see the other side of it. It's like you can be a Hall of Fame head coach. It's the same reason why I think someone like Steph Curry is not, like, you can't escape criticism. Just because you're great at what you do doesn't mean that we can't sit here and dissect the decisions that you made, analyze the things that went wrong. That's what sports are all about.
Oh, it's what America's all about, man. It's the power of the press. Seriously.
Free speech,
it's the power
baby.
of the people. Yeah, it's the second or the Third Amendment. It's one of the amendments in the top 5.
Number 2, I think, is about something else.
Yeah, that's firearms. We don't want to go there. But it's, no, seriously. It's what we do. Do I think Steve Kerr at the end of the day is, I just mentioned, a legendary coach? Hell yeah. Should he be playing Jonathan Kuminga? In my estimation, yes. And Steve Kerr starts a lot of these press conferences saying, that was on me. We didn't have them ready to play in the third quarter or a game earlier in this series. That was on me. So if Steve Kerr is admitting that he makes mistakes, then we're certainly here to criticize what it is that he does. But I think at the end of the day, when you look at his collective body of work, yeah, Steve Kerr's a hell of a coach.
What do you think was the biggest mistake, or I don't know, the biggest question mark you had about his coaching yesterday?
Well, I can tell you what I don't like, and that's the hack of whoever. I've never liked that. To me, it's gimmicky. I don't like it when they do it in the NFL where you let a team score because you're trying to save time. It never works. I don't like it when you're up by 3 in the closing seconds and maybe you foul a guy purposely so that, you don't give him an opportunity to shoot a 3. Play the damn game, all right? And the idea of we're going to hack Adams, it's almost as if saying, you know what, I got to resort to trickery because you're too good. Like, I don't know what it is that you can do. I'd play straight up, play basketball. Don't concede points, For crying out loud, it goes against everything fundamentally that you're taught as a player or just at a young age. It's like you don't give up anything. I'm not giving you 2 free throws. And then to see it backfire, listen, I'm not cheering against the Warriors and certainly not cheering against Steve Kerr, but I told you this, that with all the strategizing, sending him to the line, and the one time or the 2 times that it worked, he missed 2 free throws, and whoop, there's Şengün to put it right back in. We got our 2 points. I giggled. I'm like, come on, that's what you get for trying to be cute. Play defense at the end of the day.
Well, it's overthinking it. I mean, but at the same time, it's like, what's the one thing that you've really struggled to do to have an advantage in any game in this series? The offensive glass. And that's an opportunity for them to own the offensive glass. I actually thought it was appropriate. Like, that's not the first or second time that's happened. That's the 3rd time it's happened in this series. It also happened in Game 3 when he broke it out. But overall, I think the biggest issue that I had was Steve Kerr overthinking the starting lineup and maybe trusting his veterans a little bit too much because GP2 is in. But to me, we've seen over the course of this series, the Warriors have been looking for a 3rd scorer. And while I don't think they've found a consistent option, obviously, the 2 most likely candidates to do that are guys that were sitting on the bench yesterday. That's Brandon Podziemski and Moses Moody. Buddy Hield was that guy for a couple of games. We've seen over the course of Buddy's career, as a starter, you are eventually going to get burned. He is better served as a bench player, as a 6th man, as a gunner that can come off and be gravy. Moody and Pods have been more consistent over the course of the end of this year when Jimmy's been here. And I just thought he overthought trying to kickstart this game by, I don't know, taking away Van Vliet. He reacted to what the Rockets did instead of trusting what got him here. That's my biggest issue.
Before we get to the calls, really quick, Ev, don't you find it somewhat ironic, while I agree with you that the Warriors are trying to find that 3rd scorer, and that 3rd scorer statistically is Jonathan Kuminga on the season, that your 3rd scorer throughout the entire season next to Steph and Jimmy Butler is Jonathan Kuminga, and you've decided not to play him, and yet here you are searching for that 3rd scorer. The irony to me just jumps off the page.
I'm with you, but because he hadn't, the Warriors hadn't figured out a way for him to be the same scorer that he was before his injury, after his injury. That's just, and then that's why in Game 7, to me, it's unfair to expect him to come in and, I don't know, give you 15 to 20 points. Maybe he does. Maybe he plays well. Maybe he doesn't play at all. Like, I think anything's on the table for Kuminga in Game 7. He could be a DMP, or he could be someone that gives you 15 points in 15 minutes. I just don't know what to expect. And in the Game 7, I don't think that that's a player, a kind of player that a head coach is necessarily going to go to, but I could be wrong. Let's go to Stockton, talk to Oscar. Actually feeling pretty optimistic, Oscar. What's up, man?
Yeah. Hey, man, what's going on, fellas? Like, all these callers calling in, crying and complaining. It's called a 7-game series for a reason. Okay, I know we lost 2 in a row. Now everybody's saying Steve Kerr don't know what he's doing. So how did we become 3-3 in the first place? We had to win some games. Okay, and Devon just said it. My only thing, I love Steve Kerr, but my only thing as a coach myself, I think he overthought it too, because we was winning with Moses Moody and Podziemski. Ever since the injury, we've been going to too many different starting lineups. I think we should just go back to the starting lineup that we have, let Podziemski get his rhythm back going again. I've been watching Buddy Hield for the longest. Buddy Hield need to come off the bench. Go back to the starting lineup, and that's what we need to do. And like you said, as an older team, you can tell they did get tired. That's why we just punted the 5th game. That was a mistake. But you don't shorten your rotation without playing Santos, without playing Kuminga. Kuminga needs to play. As a coach, if you do make a couple mistakes, you get him out. But we need the athleticism to go after the ball above the rim. See, right now, we don't have no rebounders that can get above the rim. And that's the problem. And so I'm not going to second-guess Steve Kerr, because I know 7th game, we're going to win it. And this is the reason we traded for Jimmy Butler. So for all you fans out here that want to criticize the Warriors and then gave up already, keep that same energy when we win tomorrow. So, look, go Warriors. Hey, look, everybody, remember, Houston's they're the second seed for a reason. Okay, they're second seed, but one thing they don't have is Steph Curry. And I'm going to put my hands within Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Steve Kerr, and Jimmy Butler, and the rest of the crew. Watch and see. Possession them going to step up like they did. So everybody in the Bay Area that's giving up, you keep that same energy when we win tomorrow. Y'all have a good day. Go Warriors. That's right, baby. I'm live and fired up out here. Y'all have a good day, man.
Appreciate it, Oscar. Has having good times out in Stockton. I do agree with them from this standpoint. It's you do just have to trust that these guys can go into Houston and get it done. And that might not sound like much of a strategy, but at this point, that's kind of what they've been relegated to.
Yeah, and again, when you're asking the Houston Rockets to beat the Warriors 3 consecutive games,
yeah,
that's challenging. And if they do it, doff your cap. But I would say the percentages are in favor of the Warriors, and there's a reason why only 13 teams have been able to do it in the history of the association. So come on, man. You got an opportunity.
Jimmy is in Bayview. Jimmy, good morning, man. How we doing?
How we doing, guys? That definitely was a tough game, but like at the beginning of the series, like Steiny and Guru were asking each other, what's your prediction for the series? And I texted in Warriors in 7, and I mean we're one player from a 10th seed. We had Jimmy out one game and injured one game, and we're still here. We're pretty lucky. And it hasn't gone the way, we wanted, but if you hadn't watched the games and at the beginning of this series you said if we're going to be in a game 7 against the second-seeded team that is much, much taller than us, that we have trouble keeping out of the lane, you'd say, that's a good shot. I mean, I don't understand everybody saying, oh, we're going to roll over the Houston Rockets. They're second seed. And, but I do think Steve Kerr's lineup reeked of desperation. I agree with the hack a Kiwi that reeks of desperation. I was disappointed that Podziemski was not in the starting lineup. He's gotten this team, this far up to this point, and his statistics say he played worse off the bench. There's definitely some Kerr questions there. I really thought they needed to get into the lane. They did it with Jimmy, but nobody else. Controlling the lane. They need to get in the lane to get outside shots. And obviously keep them out of the lane on the other side. So until that's addressed and freeing Curry up, we're going to have to see what Kerr comes up with. What do you guys think? Thanks.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do think that the Podziemski thing was interesting because one thing I heard last night was Curry talking about after the game how guys just got to take shots. Like if the shots are there, you've got to take it. And I know one guy who's not afraid to take shots. It's Brandon Podziemski, but he wasn't in the game to start. And I think that the Warriors got off on kind of a sloppy foot. I don't think they came out with as much energy as maybe people were expecting. And that's another reason why I think you have to put some trust in the young players that have played. Like I would love to see him potentially give Kuminga or Guy Santos or whoever else some minutes in Game 7. But the guys that he has rode here, the starting lineup that's 19-4 involves Moody and Podziemski. And for him to go away from those guys in a closeout situation, I hear it. You want your veterans and you want to ride and die with them. But Houston's telling you got to get some younger legs out there.
Listen, those two guys have to stay in the rotation. They have to get their minutes. But your boy, Buddy Hield, as far as Jonathan Kuminga is concerned right now, he can sit a little while. He can watch JK play. And as far as Podziemski, I know that...
Well, I think those two players are different, though. I mean, Buddy's a shooter. When he's not making shots, then it doesn't matter. But
but some of these minutes are going to come at the expense of Jonathan Kuminga. I guess my point is it shouldn't be Moody or Podziemski. It's either GP2 or Buddy Hield or anybody else that's getting run. Podziemski does like to shoot it, but if I see him get into that lane, because I agree with the callers, get get past that first wave of defense, which you can do with a head fake, or just puncture that defense because they're running you off the line and they're extending with their length. The mid-range is there. Also, those runners for Steph and for Podziemski are there. And Podziemski, if you get into that paint again and kick out, stop that. Points are at a premium with this team. And Doris Burke mentioned it on the broadcast last night. Like, shoot that thing. Stop kicking it out to a Moody 3 or a Kuminga, or a Draymond Green 3. If you get to the lane, that runner is there for Podziemski. That little left-handed, awkward-looking thing. Use it.
Someone's going to have to shoot the ball, not named Curry or Butler. KD is in the East Bay, my favorite place. What's up, KD?
Hey, what's going on, man? Hey, I really had a question about Pods, man, and what Steve Kerr think of him. Because I was listening to Steiny and Guru yesterday. They was interviewing Bob Myers, and they was talking about Jalen Green, right? And they was wondering, so as the front office, they're reviewing to see if that guy, can he create, or he just a one-trick pony, or what they think of him, and can they move forward with him? Who is that number 2 guy that's going to do that for us? And I just let it take you guys' answer off air.
Who's going to be the guy for?
I think he means the 2 guard.
Oh, the 2? I mean, I think it's Podziemski. But there's also downsides to that too. I think one of the reasons why Pods was taken out of the starting lineup is because Fred VanVleet was getting off. He was killing it. And the move didn't work for Gary Payton II. And my thing is, Dan, yes, while GP2 is certainly a better on-ball defender than Podziemski, if he's not hitting an open 3, which he's going to get a lot of, then you now have 2 shooters on the floor that don't have to be guarded, or 2 players. They're not guarding Draymond Green at all.
Mm-mm.
He made his first 3 last night, just like he made his first 2 threes in, game 4, and then nothing. And I don't necessarily want Draymond to be more aggressive. He's not a good shooter. The days of him improving his shot or his floater or becoming a better finisher, I'm sorry. I've seen enough, and I do not think it's going to happen between now and Sunday. That means you can't have 2 or potentially at times 3 risky or up and down shooters on the floor.
It puts too much pressure on your scores, and you only have 2 of those.
And then those guys are going to get double teamed. And Curry, actually, it was mainly Jimmy last night. I thought Curry scored most of his points in bunches. Jimmy Butler hit some tough shots last night. I mean, he had one floater over Adams. It was an and one that was from 18 feet, just a runner. He was hitting in the first half, hitting tough step back. He hit about 3 late in the shot clock, bailout possession jump shots. And I'm thinking, God, these are great looks, or great shots, but you can't do this all game.
No, which is why I never felt, even when they closed in within 2 points or would narrow the gap, that there wasn't that sense of security and confidence with me. Really quick, before we get back to the phone lines, when we were talking about VanVleet, who's been such a pain and so good for Houston after the slow start, it's not just about VanVleet. GP2 can get in his face, but it's not about VanVleet stepping back or sidestepping. It's VanVleet and a 2-man game with Şengün. So these things are connected. It's not, VanVleet can't miss, but there's more to it than just, GP2 can't watch VanVleet. It's you have to collapse and help on other players. And the 2-man game that those two, the inside-out game that's benefiting VanVleet, that's what's hurting the Golden State Warriors. You can't mention the success of VanVleet or the effectiveness of VanVleet without mentioning the other half, which is the bigs, which are kicking to VanVleet because they're recognizing that the Warriors have to collapse and help out. And that 2-man game, that's what's hurting the Warriors.
That's a good point. Let's go to Jeff in Nevada, wants to talk about the Houston Rockets. Jeff, good morning. What's going on?
Hey, yeah. So I just want to call and kind of tell everybody that they need to chill out a little bit on freaking out over this stuff. Starting with Steve Kerr has 4 championships, a gold medal. He has a number 7 seed take a number 2 seed to the Game 7 right now. Like chill out. his coaching is fine. I don't think they should really do too much. If you think about it, Ben Fleet's shooting like pre-injury Klay Thompson. You got Ahmed Thompson playing like Scottie Pippen Sr. You got even Adams down there playing like he's Bill Russell. Like, all that's not going to continue over and over and over. It averages out for a reason. If, one or two of those come back down to earth and the Warriors actually start making some shots like we know the shooters can do, they should be just fine. That's about all I have to say right now. All right, thanks a lot.
I got you, Jeff. Yeah, I mean, some of it is shooting variance.
But I thought that exact same thing going into last night's game.
Well, I did too. And, a texter right now on the Boxer and Gerson work injury attorneys text line makes a good point. Only reason the Warriors won games this series because Rockets missed free throws. Otherwise, Kerr's been publicly undressed by Ime. I wouldn't go that far. But to the texter's point, it's like, the Warriors haven't outplayed the Rockets in this series. Otherwise, it'd be over. And game 4, the Rockets won just about every single category they needed to except for the one on the scoreboard. But that's where the Warriors have an advantage. If this game is close on Sunday, I believe the Warriors can pull it out. But the 3 games that they've lost have all largely been over by about the 6-minute mark of the fourth quarter, if not far earlier.
And it's about turnovers.
Yeah.
It's about securing the basketball, and it's about second chance opportunities. But you're right. If this is a close game and Houston has to think about a half-court set, they're just not good at that. If they have to get into their offense, they don't have a go-to guy, and they struggle. And if it becomes that sort of a game where it's close or it's a clutch game in the last 5 minutes, the Warriors certainly have an opportunity.
Scott's in Berkeley, so let's sneak Scotty in if we can here right before the break. Scott, what's up, man?
How you doing, fellas?
Awesome.
15 years from now.
Easy.
I'm sorry. When you talk about a guy who basically got a kid killed in the ring, I just have my issues.
I'll take him out, Scott.
15 years from now, when we're discussing this era, the thing that is going to be constant is talking about the shooting. You have the greatest long distance shooter ever. You had probably the second best long distance shooter ever, and probably in this era the best two-way defender in one body. And my point is, over the last 3 years, it is difficult to give up 2 quality shooters. Was Jordan Poole a flake? Absolutely. Could Jordan Poole get you 14 points in a quarter? Absolutely. When we talk about Game 6 last night, we don't say these 3 words. A Game 6 Klay game. The margin for error with this organization is considerably smaller. It is the toughest thing in the world to understand, I think, at times. Would I pick on Kerr? Let's see. 5 titles as a player, a championship-winning jumper, and then 4 titles as a coach. No, I'm not saying anything about the guy ever. Can we pick on him badly about this series? Sure. But again, tomorrow, if they win, and I'm not totally certain they do, but if they do, all of a sudden, the next round they're facing the Kingslayer.
I got you, Scotty. Yeah, well, Anthony Edwards is going down the Team USA roster right now. He's got a lot of guys on his hit list. But the Warriors got to get there first. They got to win tomorrow. Game 7, Sunday, 5:30. We'll have Warriors Live for you at 4:30. We got to hit a quick break here. We're taking your calls on the other side. One more segment. God, it has flown by today, and people are hyped. People are nervous. People are excited. People are tense on Warriors This Week on 95.7 The Game.
Now back to Warriors This Week on 95.7 The Game.
Come on, Pasta. It's not the final countdown. I mean, it's Game 7. That's tomorrow, but we gotta have a
Strawberry margarita? What are you doing?
All right. Yeah, before we get into Game 7, continue on with your calls. You got one more segment to get him in between now and noon here on Warriors This Week with Evan Giddings and Dan Devone. Pasta. Strawberry margs? Drink of choice? We got to be better.
I mean, I like them, but I will say though that if I am like not looking to do anything crazy, then I will just get a Golden State cider. So I'm pretty simple.
I leave for 20 minutes and I find out more about you than I've found out in my entire existence of knowing you.
What did I do wrong?
Oh my God, you learn a lot about people on the radio. I'll tell you that.
The best part is I gave him grief. I'm like, I'm not buying you one of those. And he goes, well, what about a lemonade margarita? Like, you're going from bad to worse.
Oh, my God.
Put some Tito's in something. I'll have that. How about that?
I'll get you something stiff. How about, yeah. Yep. All right, that one's going to hurt. All right, let's go to Sam Ramon. Sam in Ramon, save me. What's up, man?
Hey, guys. Great program. Want to talk about a couple of things. One, this is what we're always waiting for. Game 7 with an experienced bunch of guys. We got Draymond, we got Curry, and we got Jimmy. All have this championship pedigree. They've been here before against a young team. So we're going to see if the experience pays off and they win. Another thing I was talking about is I feel sorry for Draymond because he's got to cover these two huge 7-footers, Şengün and Adams. And, he gets tired and needs help. I think it's best for them to put some tough guys. Jimmy's tough, but they need some big guys to put bodies on these guys and take it to them. I would put two 3-point shooters and some help for Draymond in the game, if possible. What do you guys think?
I got you, Sam. Well, I do think that Draymond needs some sort of help, but I'm not sure it's on this roster. I think we will see more than 2 minutes of either Kevon Looney or Trace Jackson Davis in Game 7, Dan, with how much they played that two big lineup the Houston Rockets did. But at the end of the day, if Draymond is not able to play at a high enough level as their center, as their starting five, this season is going to be over unless, look, they are predicated right now, for better or for worse, on Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green. Other guys got to hit shots, yes. But those three players have got to carry them to the finish line. And it's a lot to ask of 35 and ups, but that's the way this team is currently constructed.
Yeah, it's not fair to ask that of Draymond Green. You can do it for a game or two, but for a 7-game series to try and root out and get after Alperen Şengün, you're giving up that much. We forget at the end of the day, he's 6'6". He's 6'6". And Steven Adams, I've never seen him go up against the center, and this is true for Steven Adams and just about everybody in the NBA. Usually, Draymond against Jokic clearly has an advantage, but you see Draymond will win some of those challenges. Now, obviously, the Joker's got the offense, and Steven Adams does not, but he's the immovable force for Draymond. Like, Draymond cannot deal with him. Like, Draymond doesn't win any of those battles. He can't box, can't put a body on him. Steven Adams does as he pleases under the hoop when it comes to a loose ball or a rebound.
I mean, in this series, he's been the biggest, literally, but also figuratively, swing player. Like, he's a plus 53 in this series. That's the highest of any player. Yep. He comes off the bench. He has been singularly better than anybody you have thrown out beyond the starting lineup, and there's nothing the Warriors have been able to do about it. And Steven Adams is someone that in the past, the Warriors have played off the floor. They've been able to get him out of games. I thought Udoka may have blinked in Game 3 by taking him out after Kerr went to the hack of Adams, but he didn't. In Game 5 and Game 6, he had no reason not to, and it's a big reason why they pushed the Golden State Warriors to 7. If we can, Pasta, once you're done right there. Oh, thank you, man. Let's go to Roger in San Francisco. Roger, welcome. What's going on?
Oh, hey, guys. Thanks for taking the call. Great show. Big Warriors fan. This Kuminga thing is just absolutely driving me crazy. It's so obvious that we're just not deep enough, and then we're also just a little too old, and we just ran out of gas last night. So there's either something else going on, like Kuminga did something that we don't know about, or Kerr's just doing a little CYA, if you know what I mean, cover your A, just playing his best guys and not taking risks. But as a huge fan, I just feel like if we lose tomorrow and Kuminga doesn't see any more minutes than the time he saw in game 3, I'm just going to put it on them for not maximizing who they have.
Yeah, Roger, I mean, I'm with you. Like, you do need everyone on this roster to help you win a Game 7, but you're going to need an unlikely hero in all probability to step up. Like, that's also a part about last night's game that I thought went a little bit under the radar. Yes, Fred VanVleet was sensational. Adams was ultimately impactful, but Jabari Smith Jr. knocked down a couple big threes. Torrey Eason hit 2 of 3 from downtown. Şengün does what he does, and Dylan Brooks didn't even play that much. Like, other players for the Rockets in a road elimination game, a couple of them their first ever appearance in one, they stepped up. They embraced the moment, and they played well in a tough situation. That's what the Warriors role players have to do now in a winner-take-all Game 7 game on the road.
Yeah, and as far as what the caller said, is there something behind the scenes as it relates to the relationship between Steve Kerr and Jonathan Kuminga? I don't know this is fact, but I don't think so. I think this is just Steve Kerr minimizing and shrinking his rotation. It's not unlike what it is that J.J. Redick did with the Los Angeles Lakers, and he's come under a lot of fire. Didn't play Jonathan Hayes, any of those boys in the second half of Game 4, I think it was, and he just, this happens in the postseason. It's not unlike what it is that he did to Jason Tatum in Paris in the Olympics. This is just Steve Kerr shrinking his roster and sticking with players that he trusts at the most important games of the season.
Yeah, and I think if there is criticism, it's not having to, maybe it's to the caller's larger point, the players ready to step in and contribute in these spots. Some of that, to me, is on the players themselves, and some of it is on Steve Kerr, for example, over the last 14 games, not figuring out a way to make, to your point, Dan, earlier, your third leading scorer in the regular season against this Houston Rockets team, a bigger part of the game plan, and not figuring out how to involve him in a Warriors team that was already playing really good basketball. That is something that you could look back on and say, we missed.
Yeah, it's a bold move because everybody shrinks their rotation. For crying out loud, OKC plays 10 or 11 guys throughout the season. They're now down to 9 or 8 because it's the playoffs. Somebody usually gets marginalized. But Ev, it's usually the fringe players. And which makes this so interesting is that you're talking again about the third leading scorer on your basketball team. So that in and of itself, if they lose a Game 7, I maintain that this will stay with Steve Kerr going forward.
Yeah, I just think their roster, the flaws of this roster have been exposed over the last 3 games because the 3 best players have not been able to carry the remaining parts. That's largely what I think this kind of comes down to. Pasta's taking call. Dude, he is working furiously back there.
It looks like you're on the stock exchange out in New York. Buy, sell.
They even do that anymore?
No.
It's all digital now.
Yeah.
All right.
Money time! Oh, he has enough time for drops.
Yeah, jeez.
How about the stiff one? Can we get to that? I want to hold on to that.
Yeah, after the caller. Damn it. Austin's in Redwood City. Austin, good morning. What's going on?
Hey, nothing much. Just working. Hey, I just want to say this, man. Hey, it was a cool little game for Houston, but I would love to see Spencer get in a game and actually be a point guard and get everybody involved instead of just seeing Curry constantly run around throwing 3 people at him. I believe Curry needs to become a point guard. Get everybody involved. You can't just be that scorer no more like he used to be. Because now they throwing 3 people at you. They hold him the whole time. Last time I checked, 8 players didn't get the Warriors to the playoffs. The whole team did. So we're talking about Spencer getting some type of play. If Holiday can give some play.
Yeah, Austin. Again, it's one of those things where I understand that Spencer's been effective in this series, but if we're talking about Pat Spencer needing to play more, I think we got bigger problems.
Yeah, that's an indictment on your team if you want Guy Santos and Spencer to save the day. Hey, listen, there's one thing about looking good in the final 2 minutes of a game that's already been decided and then starting a Game 7 or getting serious minutes in the most important game of the season. I can't entrust that to the young fella.
Brian's in Palo Alto. Brian, good morning. What's going on, man?
Morning, guys. Not a lot to be super optimistic about for tomorrow. I think it's unlikely. It looks like they just don't have the answers to this two-center lineup. I felt like they were a piece away. Even after the Butler trade, I was a pretty big advocate to move Kuminga also to get that piece. And now he's sitting on the bench, collecting dust. He's not a good fit for this system. That's why he's not going to be here much longer. And, but yeah, Kerr last night, not one of Kerr's finest moments starting GP2. Even before the game, it was like, wow, that's a pretty big statement about how you feel about your team, Steve, that you're starting GP2. Pod scored, 28 in game 4, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And, come on, man. Moody and Pods are above the pecking order of GP2, period. And, yeah. And, unfortunately, it's sure probably didn't give them a ton of confidence last night. But, yeah, that's my 2 cents is, the true crime is that Kuminga's even here anymore. They could have gotten Siakam last year and Anunoby. They probably could have gotten Cam Johnson. They still could get Cam Johnson this offseason probably for Kuminga in a sign and trade. That's being leaked big time out of Brooklyn. But that he's even here, he's just not, he's had chances when he's since coming back from injury. He's just not been a good player, period. And, no, I don't have any anger or frustration with it. It's just, period. He's had chances to cement himself and, he hasn't done it. And so, to sit here and just sort of play the Kuminga card, anytime things go wrong, it's weak commentary. All right, guys, have a good day.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate the call. Look, I think anytime your team loses, you're going to question everything. And the fact that this player was once good, has not been playing well since, I think people are searching for answers. And to his original point, they haven't found many answers to the questions that Houston has posed. I would say even since Game 4, because the Rockets largely outplayed them in that game. They missed a ton of free throws, and the Warriors closed them out.
I will say this to the caller. I did see Jonathan Kuminga and what it is he did against the Los Angeles Lakers in a must-win game towards the end of the season at L.A. at the end of a difficult road trip, where he was the best player on the floor at times, and he was playing with Jimmy Butler, and he was playing with Steph Curry. That was late in the season, and for whatever reason, you just shut that down. So, again, you can say that it's easy to just sort the sweeping sort of he hasn't been good since the injury, hasn't been good since Jimmy Butler. Well, let's pull that back a little bit. Sure as hell was good against the Los Angeles Lakers towards the end of it in a very, very big game and one of their most impressive wins late in the season.
Yeah, I guess, look, if you blow a 3-1 series lead, it's not on one person. It's not on the head coach. It's not on just your best player. It's on everybody. And I think a lot of this has to do also with how good the Houston Rockets have played. They are a 2 seed. When they make their shots, they are very difficult to beat. And we're finding out that the Warriors have kind of been walked down by them over the course of this series. It doesn't mean that they can't win Game 7.
Ev, it's not even when they make their shots. That's the thing. Is everybody looks at the shooting percentage of the Rockets and saying, well, you can beat this team. Nobody can really shoot. When you get second and third and fourth opportunities, you're going to make your shots. And I would argue that Jabari Smith and Eason and even Amen Thompson, they're equipped. It's not as though it's oh my God, these guys, they're making shots. They typically don't do that. I mean, it is a very good young Houston basketball team. And maybe we've gone over the last, almost 3 hours now trying to break down what's wrong with the Warriors. And maybe it's nothing more than Houston's young players that are coming into their own are just simply better than what it is that the Warriors are trying to counter with.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree that second chance opportunities have killed the Warriors, but in Game 1, they gave up 22 offensive rebounds. The Rockets only scored 85 points. In Game 3, they secured, I think, 17 offensive rebounds and the Rockets only scored 93 points. A big part of this, excuse me, is Houston drilling those big shots. The last 3 games, they have scored over 100 points. And when they do, the Warriors have not shown a consistent ability to put up 100 or more. I mean, I was talking to someone before the game, and they just put it simply. First team to 100. First team to 100 is going to win this game. And the last 2, it's been the Houston Rockets. Let's go to Will, who is in Berkeley. Will's in Berkeley. What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, guys. It's been a while. How are you guys doing?
Awesome, man. How are you?
I'm good. Just went to the gym. I'm feeling relaxed now because I was stressing about the game. But I just realized in my whole psyche, and I think what the fans need to do right now is take a deep breath, because we constantly try to create this whole narrative of like who to blame post game, like, okay, whose fault was it? Oh, Kerr, he did it again. It's like, guys, take a deep breath. Like, when players have a bad game, they don't blame each other. They say, you know what, I just didn't have it today, or so-and-so didn't have it today. We're so quick to blame every single player or every single move that Kerr makes, rotation-wise. We just need to figure out why we are not getting things done. And in terms of being negative and thinking about like, it's because they didn't play Kuminga. No, it has nothing to do with that. It's really about the psyche of the team. Houston is a young, lean, lengthy team, and we just don't have anybody in our rotation that can hang with most of these guys, especially the double bigs. So instead of blaming, let's figure out why they haven't done this, and maybe for next year, because I'm not sure they're going to really do it tomorrow. I'm telling you right now, I think they're going to keep coming at us hard tomorrow, and we're going to be tired. We're going to be on enemy territory. But I think for next year, we need to really decide what do we need to match up with these teams, because they're getting younger and bigger. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Will. Well, we talked about this at the deadline. Like, I don't think you can look back and say that trading for Jimmy Butler was, pardon me, the wrong decision, Dan. But I said it. You got older, you didn't get any bigger, and you didn't get any more shooting. You got better, but you didn't all of a sudden transform into a championship team and acquire those traits.
All right, write it down, fans.
Okay.
The 2 long shots that you want to bet on, all right? Chunk of gold today, going off at 30-1. Yes, that's right. It is the running of the Kentucky Derby as they play my old Kentucky home as we...
Well, half the horses are out.
Yeah. Are they?
I don't know. I see one drop every single day, it feels like.
And the Warriors, the long shot, beat the Houston Rockets. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Does anybody else feel that way? Fred's in Fremont. Fred, what's going on, man?
Yes. So again, talking about playing Tom. First, I wanted to ask you guys this question, because I don't know this rule, that how many times a player can come out of the game and go back in?
As many times as he wants.
Yep.
So for Stephen Curry, that as good as he is, we're not talking about giving like crucial playing time to Spencer or other good players, but take him out as many times as possible. Give time to those other guys, which they can contribute, big time.
Gotcha, Fred. Thank you. I want to clean up these calls, Dan. We got 3 more left here. Let's go to Tim in North Carolina. Tim, I'm sorry we got to you late here, but what's going on?
It's all good, man. I'm actually over in Hawaii, man, and the time is all jacked up. I just wanted to call y'all real quick. Man, I listened to these guys call in. Your guy, Brian, all he calls in to do is just completely throw Kuminga under the bus every call. Evan, you were 100% right. This isn't about anything other than you find a way to get your third leading scorer who has dominated a certain team twice this year. He's beat this team himself twice this year in clutch situations, and he's glued to the bench, period. We don't have to do rocket science on this. We ain't got to talk about he hasn't done nothing with his chances, which he really has. every time he's had a chance. Yes, he struggled to adjust when he came back after an injury, but we don't got to go deep diving on this. You find a way to make the guy fit in and have some type of impact against a team he relishes to play, period. We don't have to do much deep diving other than that. It ain't about throwing the kid under the bus. It ain't about he shouldn't have been here. At the end of the day, you're not going to expect him when he's averaging 25 points when he gets hurt. They're not thinking about to trade this kid. He was coming into his own. So who the hell is going to trade him at that point? They weren't able to implement him back into the team, and he got glued to the bench, which is unheard of for a third leading scorer, and now you're in a Game 7. And if you win the Game 7, you're pretty much fried for the rest of the playoffs, period. So, Evan, I appreciate you at least sticking to that. This guy calls in every week just to throw the kid under the bus for no damn reason.
Yep. No, I'm with you, Tim. DK's in San Francisco. DK, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Love the show, first off. So a couple of things. One, just to reiterate a couple of your points you've already made. I mean, why are we taking mids? I just don't understand it. It's like these guys are allergic to them. They feel the need because they've got one of the greatest shooters on the team. They need to kick it out every time. I mean, take the easy two when you can. I'm not really worried about what we haven't done at this point. It's what we can do to win this next game. And the only thing I can really see is, and this is completely old school, but I grew up in Seattle in the 90s, and we had this guy, Burkowski, and George Karl would bring him in just to beat the living out of everybody on that opposing team, and he'd get fouled out. I mean, he fouled out playoff games almost every game. He'd foul out, and he was just a bruiser. He was a paid bruiser. That was his thing. So I know it's not ethically correct and hey, whatever, but this is a Game 7. Throw everything out the window. Get Spencer in there. Get Trace Jackson in there just to kind of get some hard and heavy fouls on people. And maybe that's the only way we can slow Adams down because he's just been a beast. Like I said, guys, appreciate it. I love the show.
I'm with you,
Frank
DK.
Burkowski shout out.
Yeah, didn't see that one coming today. Dan's in Walnut Creek. Finish us off, Dan. What's going on?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, guys. Great stuff this morning. I'm going to say we believe. I mean, it is so disheartening to wake up to our own fans like calling it a day or saying whatever. We have Steph Curry on our team. I mean, we have Steve Kerr as our coach. Like, just to be like, we need to do this or we need to do that. No, let these professionals do their job and believe and stick with us. Like, if you're a fan till the wheels fall off. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet and maybe a little corny, but go Dubs and never underestimate the heart of a champion. Thanks, guys. Keep it up.
Oh, we go out on a positive note.
There we go.
Dan.
Well, I mean, that's where we got to end the show, right? We didn't come here for doom and gloom.
Dan.
We got a game tomorrow. The Warriors got to go win.
Dan's drunk, but way to go, buddy.
You think so? At noon? It's a little early for that.
He sounds drunk. No.
Taking after his guy, Dan
listen,
DeVone.
I will just tell you
Thank
this,
you.
man. It's a Game 7. Houston, again, if you were to think about how the Warriors can win this thing, this is virgin territory for them. They've never been in a big game, the majority of those guys, right? So what? What now?
No,
we always have to go to the gutter?
No, hey, look, we've had a lot of innuendos today. Pasta, do you have that drop ready for me?
Thank you.
All right. Well,
and beating a team 3 times in a row is not easy to do.
I'll get you something stiff. How about damn it. The point is, anything can happen in a Game 7. Seriously, good or bad. The Warriors have been in single-game elimination scenarios where it has benefited them. Curry obviously dropped 50 in a Game 7 in Sacramento. They also got beat in a play-in situation last year in a 9-10 game where they got blown out by the Kings. They lost a Game 7 when they were arguably the greatest team in regular season NBA history, where they were by 73 wins. Anything can happen in a Game 7. And as crazy as that might sound as a reason to believe they can get it done, I just believe it's the reason why it's going to be an exciting game.
It's going to be fun. And if Jonathan Kuminga drops 25 or 30 and the Warriors
win, God.
Literally, this phone line will explode.
DeVone, if Kuminga goes for 25 or 30 and they win the game, you got to call in the Warriors wrap-up tomorrow. I will get you on immediately. You get the bat phone, and you can take the largest victory lap a host has had at this station.
No, it's not about a victory lap, man. I'll save it all for Warriors Live next week, or Warriors this week.
All right, seriously, you think the Warriors are going to win tomorrow?
I want to
go. All right, that'll do it for Dan Navone. Big thank you to Steven Risotto, a.k.a. Pasta. The guy was running back there, moving hell on earth, heaven and earth.
Strawberry margaritas for you, buddy.
Are you saying that because I'm inexperienced?
Or lemonade margaritas. My name is Evan Giddings. Thank you for everybody who's called in, texted in, chimed in on our YouTube chat. We appreciate all the conversation. Warriors, 5:30, Game 7. Warriors Live begins at 4:30. We'll have you covered pre and post tomorrow, all right here on 95.7 The Game. Thanks you for listening. I'll get you something stiff. How about,
I can't even believe you said that.